Well, welcome to Esther's Table. As you could see, we have two beautiful ladies here that are our sisters. We were not lying when we jokingly said there was two in between, but now they're right here. This is Brittany and Nicole.
Not in between right now.
Yeah, you're on the outside, which is good because you get full, angles, Nicole. I know that's what you asked in the beginning. So this is Nicole and this is Brittany. These are our sisters, and we thought it was time for us to sit at the table and kind of just air out just our lives and share what God has done in each of us and through all of us together through our journey. And it did not obviously seem right to not have every single one of us sitting here to do so. But I know it's been something we have mentioned in a lot of our previous podcasts, just talking about here and there our story. And we just want to honor what God has done. So that's what our heart is for this.
And the beautiful thing about our story is that it's all individual. Like, it's not one. It is a theme. There's a theme, but it is all how God has worked our hearts and in our journeys and to where we are now for his glory. So I think that's what is exciting to hear about you guys talking about your stories and different sharing your hearts and perspectives.
Yeah. So what do you, if you want to introduce a little bit yourself, just so that someone could get a little taste of you, Nicole, first, and you can go.
Oh boy. My name is Nicole. I am really excited to be a part of this, actually. I feel like this is going to be bringing some energy, and you get to know us individually and also as a group, which I think we all have our own little energy and our own little viewpoints on things. And so I'm really excited. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Thanks for coming.
Yes. Thanks for being here.
I'm Brittany. I am the third.
Thank you for telling me where you land. I was like,
oh, maybe I should have said mine.
She's a second. She's a wife. She has kids.
I didn't know how formal we needed to be here. Okay.
Melissa. Every time.
I was going to say.
Nicole.
By the end of this.
Go on, Brittany. Sorry.
By the end of this, you'll clearly see Nicole and I are the middle children.
That's right.
The forgotten ones.
Please.
Just kidding. Mom of four, been married coming on 15 years. Coming up in 3 or 4 weeks. So that's about it. I'm quieter, so bear with me.
But you still have a lot.
I have a lot to say.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So we're going to give it. Awesome.
Yeah. So we're ready?
Yeah, I think Lawson, also to be clear, you're going to hear a microphone. It's not, he is here. It's like it's like Oz. He's just behind it. He's behind the curtain.
Now.
I know, where's your camera? No, so Lawson, something, do you want to share that? Because I feel like you were led to say the Lawson one, like why Lawson is doing that.
So over the week, I had a chance to get away and just hear the Lord on what this episode should be and who it's for. And we know it's for his daughters, but the Lord's daughters, but it was more on the lines that God had such great downloads and ideas for Lawson to share and lead, so that it wasn't all of us talking, which we could do. We could sit here for hours and just talk about everything.
This is a 6-part series.
But specifically, Lawson had some great ideas to share here, and he will. So he's going to go ahead and lead a few of those. He's
going to start prompts, because I think it's really helpful to have some movement along, but also have somebody who knows us enough and knows our story, but also is going to bring a different outside perspective that might have questions that we won't naturally think of because we just know our story.
Right.
So we just want to we're just going to take our time in that way. So do you want to?
So this is the only question I prompted Chelsea with before we got started. So I was like, and you can just think about it and streamline it. Then everything else she said, I don't want to know any of them because I want it to be fair. I don't want to have these super articulate, thought out questions when they're like, let me think for a second.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to do that.
So all I said to her, give me a quick synopsis of your family life, your childhood, your parents' dynamic, and where you guys are now.
I said quick.
That's what I heard.
I laughed so hard at that. I was like, my sister's gonna laugh so hard when you
Quick
say that.
means not an hour.
We're gonna do. What I'm just gonna do is get a quick outline of basically what it looked like, why we're here, and why we were sharing it. Obviously, there's 4 of us. We started by our being raised by 2 parents. We won't say their names just out of, it doesn't matter. No offense. It just doesn't matter. We have a dad and a mom, and they, chose through some past. They battled a lot of, I believe, demonic, presence in their life by their choices and by, things that they kept being a part of in their life. And that trickled into alcohol, addiction, abuse in our family. They got divorced. Mom left, got remarried to the guy she left for, moved away. We never saw her for 30 years. Our dad passed away 2.5 years ago. That brought a lot of open doors and healing to, I would say, all 4 of us. And then we were able to reconnect and, I would say, meet our mother for the first time in 30 years in January as a group of 4. Cold state of Michigan in January. Coldest day of the year, they said. Awful. But it was a fun adventure, guys. And we learned a lot through experiencing that and meeting her. And also, so that's kind of the quick storyline of that. That's where we're starting. Just to give an idea of why we're here. A lot of people viewed us a certain way, and we're just going to open the blinds finally to our house and our life and be honest without, speaking poorly of also God's children.
Yeah.
He loved our parents so much. One that's passed away, one still alive, they're loved. But we just wanted to share and be honest. So there might be parts that could be triggering to some people. So just pre-warn you on that. And if it's too much, you can walk, maybe not listen to this one if it's too much for you, but there will be, talks of abuse and alcohol abuse and things like that. Does that sound appropriate for summary? Yep. Okay.
That's great. You nailed it.
I want to do a quick summary. That was quick. Wow. That's like just if I did a literal timeline. Yeah. Like I think
that's amazing.
We were young, really young too. So it was, our own story, and then we grew up and learned a lot throughout the years. God protected us.
I think that this would simultaneously make your dad incredibly proud and be his worst nightmare all at once.
It really would. It really would.
It would be both,
yes,
depending on what you guys said.
Yes.
It will be his worst nightmare. It would have been his worst nightmare.
Yes.
Something that I just thought would be an easy way to get everyone to talk and just a great way to build off conversation. I said, in 2 words, describe your childhood. 2 words. That could be like really terrible or blissfully ignorant. Something that just sums up simply how you felt, and each of you might feel very differently.
Do you want to start? Because I feel like Melissa already knows this.
Mine would be adventurous in all the ways that means, and independent. So alone, yet adventurous.
So adventurous and independent.
Yeah. Those are my words.
I mean, I would say maybe angry and yet fun. It was a very, very 2 sides of the spectrum type thing for me. Mm-hmm. We had a great time and then not so great. Mm.
I think of ignorant, but then also almost like blinders that the Lord put on my life. So I think maybe ignorant, but really like blinders by the Lord. But I enjoyed my childhood, so joy. I had fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, the word that came to mind was messy. And also bright. I agree with Nicole. I think we clung to the brightness.
Yeah.
All of us.
Right.
But it was messy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was very messy. Yeah.
I mean, it was like 2 sides of the coin for sure.
Yeah.
You had the fun. We had such a great time. It was so there was that blissful, just kid friendly, innocence, fun. And then on the other side, we saw the anger and the rage and the abuse. Like even as kids, we knew what was going on. And we saw it. We saw it for what it was. I think it was black and white, good and bad.
Yeah, I think that's what's hard about kind of getting into this. It's hard to crack open. It's like, where do you start with this story?
Yeah.
Like, where do you start with explaining anything? Because for Melissa and I are literally bookends to our family. So her story is so different than my story. And that's why I do appreciate that you mentioned that in the beginning, saying we have different takes on things.
For sure.
Because, Melissa was around for a lot of it. She was mature enough to not maybe fully understand everything, but you were witness to way more than when I wasn't even alive some of the times. Mm-hmm. And then when I just have really intense memories because my early years was the intense part of it all. And then it was just gone. And then it just was just my dad.
Yeah.
And our dad, I would say peeling it back farther is our dad grew up the only male. He had 2 sisters and he was the oldest. And I think this all really started where he lost his dad at 14 and it was not great. Like there was so much trauma there. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot and that's where I believe the birth of anger, the spirit of anger really started with him. Mm-hmm. And then it just continued on. And I would say, we haven't really talked about this yet, but our dad was a narcissist. And that to me, I believe is fully a demonic warfare where, you find an open door, and I believe it was anger. And with him, and when you don't repent, it just grew bigger and bigger. So that is where he, goes and finds our mom. And she was, also, now I know, she's also just like a pretty narcissistic herself. It was almost 2 spectrums of it that met together to find the same dream. And they both sold the same dream to each other. And they would have killed each other if she didn't leave.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it. I know it. She would have either pulled something on him and killed him, or he would have beat her to death.
For sure.
And it's almost like God knew that, like protected us again from a deeper trauma of like loss in that way. Mm-hmm. And so they go and have this dream and it's a facade. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's hard is, we learned a lot about that when we met our mom. She kind of like pieced back a lot of this for us. Cause I see our upbringing as like, alcohol, where the biggest memory I have is mom taking plastic bottles of empty, putting them under my bed and be like, I'm going to show you a magic trick. And then next day they're filled. And I was like, oh. It was the coolest thing I think I've ever seen. Could have been water. I didn't even understand, but it was like uncovering this idea that she was hiding alcohol from dad and she was day drinking.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this because I was so little. She was doing it my whole life.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We
both saw it.
Both of you were old enough. Yeah. And Brittany did get like a good tasting of that too. She was older than me with that as well, but we still were a little lucky to be protected, being just young and ignorant. Like, oh, cool. Because we shared a room when she did that.
Yeah.
She was showing both of us the magic trick.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I think it even goes back to like how you started. It was like, okay, yes, our dad had a lot of anger, which created anger in the Lord. He was mad at the Lord and held it in, and yet did not have a chance to really release any of that, and kept it in, built pride over that hardened heart. Now, our mom, she kind of grew up the same way, and it's in her own story, had that same anger and jealousy that came over her heart. And there was a lot of pride in that, in beauty and the outward appearance. And you mix the two, and all you do is battling who's on top.
Yes.
And so we all got to be the front runner experience, seeing this, who's going to win the showdown for the day. Now, I don't think when I said it was adventurous, there was so much fun and adventure that we got to experience that our parents brought to our lives. But at the same time, we kind of like hung in it together with the adventure side. Like we wanted to be outside. We wanted to be away from them. That's where we could sense the Lord. We were surrounded by the Lord always. And then your protection and your, the filter you described is exactly how it was. But that open door that trickled into their marriage, that stemmed into our upbringing, was really what we noticed from the beginning. And so, yeah, your magic tricks, that's great. Sounds fun, but
looking back, you're like, what kind of parent does that? But, I also understand how powerful addiction is and how powerful the hand of the enemy can be on someone's life.
Absolutely.
Of the lies they believe and how they can numb it in those ways. And, it turned out that Dad turned into the same thing when, all that. So I think for me, like, my childhood wasn't adventurous with them. It was not. It was dark and scary. It was, hiding in the corner when he's dragging her out of the house because she was drunk or at a bar somewhere, and me, my little brain, not understanding that. So I remember when he passed away, you and I wrote two completely different things, and that's okay.
yeah.
But it also showed me how the Lord developed each of us for our own storyline in what we experience, so that we can come out and voice it, because I always felt so alone. If we ever said anything, we would be taken away. That was what he always lorded over us. If you tell someone, they're going to take you, and it'll be way worse. You'll be in a home full of 10 kids and you'll be begging to come back here. And so that fear base, and this is something Nicole and I know we've talked a lot about, fear, and how that was something he pushed into all of us to make all of our decisions, to control us. And I thought, I didn't know what I thought about. I don't know. Did anyone ever look at, like, go to their friend's house and question if that was real because of your own family? Or do you say, I desire that?
No.
You never did that?
I didn't.
I didn't either.
Did you?
Like,
Is that what you're saying?
Like questioning it or desiring it?
Desiring or questioning. I didn't even
I
think
definitely
about it.
desired.
I didn't either.
I definitely desired being like,
I was like, this is my life, and I'm going to make the best of it.
Yeah, that's how I was too.
I mean, I agree. I agree with that, but
And I'm just like, la la la, I don't even know anything's going on.
but like seeing other families and almost be like, is this what it's like? That's so nice.
Okay, so I think we should break it down even more, because I love where you're at, because that's you had to deal what we realized in our stories, and I want you guys to share each of your journeys a little bit, but I think what you're saying too, in the end of it all, as the youngest, you saw it all and you're like, I hate this, get me out.
True.
Whereas the independent word I used was because I felt so alone that we're going to carry on. We're going to protect my sisters. We're going to do whatever it takes. And that same mindset, I guess you had too, which was great, because I saw it as they suck. I'm just leaving that.
They mean parents, not other people.
Not our children. Our children. Like our parents were, to me, were children. And so in my mindset, I was like, all right, I'm stepping it up, and we're just going to be.
How old were you?
So what I felt was like my childhood was really great until we moved into this house in Jupiter. And that to me in the beginning was amazing. Like, we were outside, we were playing, we were in the pool all the time. We were outside legitimately all the time.
Yeah.
And then I noticed a difference right around 8 years old, when I was 8. And I started noticing, wow, they're really fighting a lot, or there was stress in the home, and I could feel it, and I could sense something wasn't right. And then the more that they started hiding out their issues, our mom was not very good at hiding, clearly. She tried.
Yeah. She was smart,
creative.
though. She was creative.
No, she's very smart.
She's very smart. That's what we
She's
learned.
very smart. Is something
Very
we
witty.
learned. Very
quick.
Very quick.
She knows how to make an answer out of nothing.
Every single detail.
Yeah.
Every detail. But so all of a sudden, from 8 to 10, when she literally dropped us off, and we basically realized, oh, she's not coming back. When we got dropped off at school.
No, she said she dropped you guys off. She said goodbye to you and me, right? She came into my class and said goodbye to me.
Oh, that's so sweet.
But I know for a fact she did that because she didn't trust you to.
Yeah.
Because you were always telling her.
I never knew that she went inside.
She came into my class, Miss Busby's class was like
Miss
beginning of the year.
Perez.
Yeah. And they're like, Chelsea, your mom's here to see you. And I don't even know if they knew. And I walked out in the hallway. And the school doesn't even exist anymore. The hurricane took it out, and I said goodbye to her.
Wow.
I hugged her,
Same.
and she left. And that was the
You
last
did the
time I ever
same
saw
thing?
her.
I didn't know that.
I did not know that. She
Wow.
dropped. I remember her dropping out.
She knew we were team her. That's why, because I was obsessed with her. I had
That
no
is
idea about
hilarious.
what was going on. You told on her,
Oh,
so she's like, I don't trust this girl one
And
second.
anything that she did, I was like, yes, this is right. I gotta go
I mean,
with her.
to the point that like she would hide out, sneak out to go to bars to meet this guy.
Yeah.
And Nicole and I
We
would
would
be
jump
in the
in the
car and we would like hide out. I don't even know. We're like, we didn't tell you guys.
I was
just
like,
we're
two.
going.
I was like 2 or 3.
She,
Of course,
like,
I wouldn't
went
be able to
in
go
there.
on.
I went into the bar and I
Went in
went
there.
right up to our mom and I was
Yes.
like, who's this guy? And she's like, what are you doing here?
And
I'm
how old
like,
were you at this time?
I
8?
was literally maybe 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Easily.
Maybe, yeah.
Put
Nine.
reference on that.
And she gave me $20 if I didn't say a word about the guy that she was with. And I was like, all right. And I took the money. I remember I was like, Nicole's in the car still. We gotta go. She got in.
She didn't give me any money.
She was
You weren't saying anything.
she was like silent. But she did say, don't tell your dad.
Yeah.
And I just remember that. And I'm like, yeah, right. I'm telling him the next morning. So we went in. She was definitely tipsy, but the bar wasn't far from our house. We got in and it was like the same routine. I'm going to tell my dad the next day. So I did. And that led to more arguments. But in the end, I was like, no, it's not right.
Yeah.
Like, it's not right. So
Yeah.
I was trying to protect our family, I think deep down. And the more she was acting out, the more I started stepping up. I was growing up and realizing this is not right. This is wrong. And more to protect us.
Yeah.
And so as that was happening, she just got worse and worse. And their fights got worse and worse. And I experienced more of like yelling at them, telling them to like grow up. I just remember yelling at dad once. I remember yelling at mom numerous times, like taking bottles, dumping them out.
I remember
We
you
did
doing
that
that.
I would do it all
Yeah.
the time. Like, nope, not gonna happen. Dumping out alcohol
yeah.
all the time. Telling our dad all the time. Like, it was just like, no, like you have to be held accountable. And I was gonna be the one to do that. So
But that's also like, I just want to say I'm so sorry. That's so much to hold at that age. Like, what kid has to hold that?
but I didn't think
I know,
of it
but
that
I'm
way
saying, though,
then.
Right.
What? Look at your
Yes,
own kids.
yes.
Could you imagine
No.
at 9
No.
them like heartbreaking?
Right,
That's
right.
why I'm just like taking a moment for little Melissa and being like,
Yes,
that's tough.
yes.
That's tough. I just feel for that because I think that gets overlooked of the situation. There's a lot of times that we were handed a lot of adult situations to
Right.
children.
Yeah.
Our parents were children. We were having to be adults.
Right.
Right. But that was our normal.
That was our normal.
yeah.
And then we go into a world of, there were situations where I was like, I didn't understand because our normal wasn't, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is like our normal wasn't normal.
No.
And then when you don't know it's not normal until you experience something and multiple people is
Right.
like, that's
Traumatic.
weird. You're like,
Right.
ooh, I'm just going to not say anything.
Right.
Because I'd rather not, law.
One of the questions I had written down was literally, at what age did you realize your childhood or your family was kind of messed up and not necessarily normal?
8 or 9, yeah.
When I actually knew,
Yeah, and I mean, like, because
I mean, maybe years
I
later.
was gonna say, I was older.
Yeah.
No, you're in
we're
trauma.
just not a
Yeah.
divorced like family. Like we have friends whose parents are divorced. Like we're something totally different.
No.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's so good. And I kind of want to jump from there. Yes. Like, so I felt like we were not normal when mom left, but I felt normal during the season of like
With her
Absolutely.
being
trauma.
there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of like, because I'm like, okay,
You're in
well,
crisis, so you
you're
don't
in
see
crisis
it,
mode.
yeah.
You're trying to protect. You're trying to keep your family together. And I'm 10 trying to do this, so it's not like
Yeah.
to
But
me.
you're still a family.
but I'm still
Right.
family to the
Right.
world. And outside of the house,
we got to say the outside.
it looked perfect. No one knew.
Yeah.
No one had an idea.
My dad was a saint.
Yeah.
Because he took on 4
We,
boys
we
by himself.
lived.
I almost took
before
pride
that.
in it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is the greatest family ever.
Yeah.
Because of that, that was the facade I think that he allowed us to kind of see or believe. Yeah. He would tell us all the time. And I was like, oh, we have the greatest family. This is normal. This is what everyone's maybe going through. Everyone has their stuff.
It was all her fault, you know,
Oh,
like
Yeah.
very much that, you know, now we've gotten rid of the problem.
Right.
But even before,
Once she left, you're
Yes.
saying?
yeah, but I'm saying before, we went to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
He held elder
Bible studies
Bible studies
in
in our
our home.
house.
Yeah.
And literally this is all happening while that's happening.
Right.
And that seems insane because it is. It's like it's the acting level of trying to keep up this reputation.
Yeah.
And we found out later that he also kept up this dream he couldn't keep up. And he was home a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't even remember that. Like I didn't remember, and
Yeah.
I want to say too, I was a little surprised, and we'll get there, but she didn't like hate on him. It was almost like he did whatever he wanted, and she just was like in charge of raising us. But then he was around a lot because he wasn't working a ton. But then he had this really expensive house, and that's what I'm saying. Look at this beautiful house on the water.
Right.
Like we are
Went to
blessed.
private school.
Went to private school.
Yeah.
You food on the table, beautiful home. Like
We know God.
we know God. We are, you know. But like if you look at any of our tapes and stuff, that's what I'm saying. It was there's pleasant memories, but I do think that facade was like killing the cracks inside. It made it worse inside. So I do, and I know like. Yeah, I know that was really hard for probably more, you know, our mom.
Yeah.
To the pressure of trying to make sure everything was on her.
Yeah. And she couldn't deal. She didn't
Yeah.
have a community.
No.
She didn't have, she didn't know how to actually be a daughter of a king.
No.
Right? She didn't have that relationship, I would
Yeah.
say. And so she's doing it in her own way, which was numbing.
Yeah.
And just like, I don't know how else to do this. I'm going to respond this way. And so she just kind of then came to a point where she had to leave. And so that's kind of where we jumped in to
But he wasn't
Trying to help the situation.
Save the family.
He wasn't. But it wasn't. You know, and I want to be clear. Like he wasn't loving to her. Like he didn't love her as a husband should.
Right.
And he was always looking after himself.
And we knew that
And we
once
knew
she kind of got out of the picture,
then we
then
got
we
put
were
on
the
us.
ones.
Yeah.
He didn't.
But
love.
growing up was like his right hand girl.
Yeah.
Like
I almost feel like we need to tell our sides of like
yeah.
the story here.
Yeah, no,
it's very different.
It is. So like I felt forever that I was daddy's little girl. He just always had my back. We were a team. Like our whole family is a team. Like that's my mindset is like, okay, we're a team. Like we're going to do this. And so when she did leave, I stepped up. I always felt a sense of jealousy with her that was pushed down later on. Like throughout my life, I thought it was a lie until I met her. And then I realized, nope, that was not a lie. As a child, I remember and I know. And so if you have a child and they feel something, like I always go into that because it was just brushed off. It was like put down. It became like this idea. But later, you know, with my dad, I then grew into understanding who he really was and grew understanding into like, okay, there's a boundary I need to have with him. But it took years. I was like holding him down till the very end. And then right before
Maybe
he
2
died.
weeks before.
Yeah, 2 weeks before I had to put like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like I can't keep backing you. I can't keep protecting you. I can't keep caring for you. And I kept wanting to honor him the way the Bible says. And I still do to this day, try to. But it got pretty hard at points because then it's like I'm compromising my walk with the Lord. And I never wanted that. And so always my faith was there. I felt it very clearly that even though we had terrible parents in, you know, the world's eyes, like God was always over us and always protected us. So there was this sense of, that's why I sensed so heavily this parenting role that came over me that it was like, okay, my parents suck, but I'll hold down the fort. We got this, and that's kind of really where my walk came in from that point. But what's your story like?
I mean, being the second oldest, kind of following your example, I think I sided with you because I was the younger one and I looked up to you for sure. And you were always positive. I think that's really what, like, we kind of formed our own little bond because of that. And I was like, oh, I feel safe with her. Okay, cool. I don't necessarily feel safe with them, but I feel safe with her. And so I'm like, okay, this is good. This is a good place to be. But as far as my parents go, I think my biggest concern was always with my dad because we were similar in a lot of ways and I would challenge him often. And it wasn't always the best way to challenge, but in my like 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old teenage years, whatever it was, it would be like, no, but the Bible says this, Dad, and you are not following that. And, as I grew in my faith, I learned to kind of become a little less rugged and angry. And I took it more to in like, I don't feel loved. I don't feel cared for. I don't feel accepted or wanted. And I think that built this like wall between me and him for sure. And probably even you guys to a point where I was just kind of pushing everyone away. And though my relationship with God, I think, was the only thing that truly protected me and kept me going on this path that thankfully now I see it was completely God's hand of grace and love and acceptance and all the things. But with my dad, we were just constantly butting heads. We were constantly on two sides of the spectrum. He'd say, my way or the highway. And I'm like, fine, I'll take the highway. I don't care.
Slam the door.
Slam the door.
Oh, then he would take
hinges.
the door. He would take the door off.
He took my door off.
You don't deserve the door if you don't. If you see through that way.
I went to Miami in the middle of the night after prom, and I was like, bye, I'll get away with it. Totally didn't. And he was very mad about that one. Yes. And obviously I was growing, and but there was a lot of
You slept in a
friction,
car.
let's just say, between us. We definitely, I was the black sheep of the family, and I still say that to this day because I believe it, but we all had our moments though too, I would say.
I don't speak that over your life. You are
Well, not
the
anymore.
black sheep anymore.
He was hard on you.
He was hard.
Yeah.
He
I think
was
he
hard
just
on
couldn't
you.
control me, and
Yeah.
that's his problem.
You gave him what he would have given somebody.
Right. Exactly.
You looked in the mirror.
Yeah.
Right.
And we all have a kid in our families.
Yeah.
Yes, we
That
do.
we look in the mirror, and we have to look. But if you're not willing to look in the mirror, that's
Right.
the relationship you get.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good way
That's
of
right.
putting it. That's exactly it.
I have a child. Believe me.
Yeah. It's so funny. I think because you took so much of his attention when it comes to dad, that I was able to like go under the radar with a lot of those things. But there's a lot of like, I trusted him like with a lot of like things he said. So he said, Mom was this way. Oh, she's that way. And I believed it. And I never second guessed him on that. Mm-hmm. And so maybe, I don't know if that's why I feel like I kind of live in la la land with it. Because I'm like, I listened to everything he said. Now, as an adult, I look back and I was like, yeah, that was really bad. And I, just didn't see it for what it was when I was younger. But yeah, you took a lot of the heat, so I didn't have to. So I definitely went through rebellious years, but he cared a little less as he got older, or as we got older. He cared a little less about, I think, us two. About what we like, you had really strict rules.
strict.
He didn't care
You
about
were really
me
strict.
at all. But because you were the, and I don't say this in a way, you were the one that he was like, boys are going to be like, I got to keep boys away from you. And you had very like good long-term boyfriends, but he still didn't care.
No.
He made me go on every single date, every single thing I had to be with you. And that is my memory of your dating. That's, the person.
Yes.
That is I literally, I felt like I was part of it.
Yeah.
Because he didn't trust, it was like a mistrust.
Yeah.
But he was more of like, you were so pretty, he wanted to protect you so much from
But he had control over me for sure. So like I trusted him and I trusted what he said. And so I just wanted to, and a lot of it came from people pleasing, just like wanting to do what he said so that I didn't get in trouble because I saw where that led and I didn't want to get there. And so I would just kind of follow the rules for the most part. I like I said, I was rebellious years where I pushed the limits on things, but a lot of it was like I was being restrained from so much that I was like, all right, I need to get out a little. And like, I would just, do things that I probably shouldn't have. But then I would say like when I got to, when I was 19, a lot of clarity came upon me when I saw like, families that love Christ and they treated each other well. And, it's just really good examples of biblical parenting and that was when I was like, whoa, that's not how I was, disciplined, or that's not how I was, treated by my parents, or and then there was just a reality of like, wow, I was fed a lie and I believed that lie. And I wanted to do things different. So I would even say like after I got married and everything, there was so much that I learned about our past. And it was just like, I believed it to be normal until I saw what normal was, which wasn't until probably mid-20s where I was like, wow, that was really messed up. And then even our trip that we took, that brought even more clarity about how things, because you protected us from so much. And like Dad protected, at least for me, I felt protected from so much of like the bad. I can remember bits and pieces. I remember Mom coming up to our window in the middle of the night and being scared of the windows from then on because I was afraid that people would just randomly come up in the middle of the night, like strangers. And I remember her getting dragged out, and I remember her, I remember going and walking up the street with all 4 of us to a neighbor's house when she got kicked out in the middle of the night. And I remember locking arms and walking up the street, just like, we got this. We're like,
imagine
it was like
kids
probably
just
8 o'clock at night, and in my mind it was the middle of the night.
That's
right. But so I remember little stories, and as you guys share sometimes it brings back those memories. But I really was protected, so I didn't feel like things were crazy while we were in it until now. I look back and I'm like, I would never parent that way. I would never treat my kids like that. I would never, do this or that. But a lot of it got brought to light later in life for me.
Can I ask you a question about when you, like, how did you view Mom while she was in the house and like their marriage and just life with her? Like, I always wanted to know that perspective for you.
How old were you when that happened?
Yeah. Okay. So she left when I was 5. So, I mean, I really don't remember too much. I do remember thinking that I was her favorite.
You are still her favorite. 100% twin.
I can tell you.
Her words, not ours.
I'm pretty sure Nicole's her favorite now.
Do you think it's part of that Brittany looks the most like her?
Yeah.
Or why do you, or resembles her the most maybe?
I think younger.
It's her perspective of like
what she
always
desires,
wanted.
what she views herself is Brittany. It's not truth. Her and I look a lot alike. We're the same height. I don't like that I found out that we're very similar. It was almost shocking because in my mind,
I was shocked by that.
Me too.
Because I've always been convinced in my mind, like, oh, Brittany gets everything from Mom.
Yeah.
And I would never, now I'm like,
Yeah.
I think we're going to start looking in family trees to find out somebody who look more like, because maybe she had the blonde hair. Maybe it's like the lighter eyes. Maybe she did tan, but like, you're nothing like her. And I think that was like really shocking to my core.
I think everyone of us.
We're like,
yeah. Well, we had this perspective of her throughout because after she left, it was Dad for her years and years. And then we built this thought, like story, because we're like, what really happened? And we're inquisitive of it. And so we're like, oh, she must be like Brittany because Brittany's completely opposite of Dad.
Yeah.
And that's probably how she's going to be. But when we met her, we were like,
surprised.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like first day, I was like,
whoa.
Your memory is Chelsea's memory.
It's so sharp.
Your wit is Chelsea.
I'm like,
speaking of, my memory of my upbringing is way too intense because I remember so much. And I think that's kind of like, I have completely opposite feeling about it. Like, you're like, I'm protected. I don't remember anything. I'm like, that's all I remember.
Chelsea remembers things before she was born.
I always say that.
always say, you remember your birth when I was coming out. Yeah.
I wasn't even like part of
Okay,
You
so
weren't
that
even
was
alive.
like one of the factors that really, maybe I found some comfort that I wasn't like a crazy person, that I got that memory from my mom. Like I just always thought it was a weird thing I had. I can remember a lot of things. And now my son, my oldest son, is exactly that. He remembers everything. He'll remember you tell him something, like weeks, months later, he'll be like, oh yeah, this and that. And he'll just remember it. And Lawson will look at me and be like, you, because Lawson.
It's literally the worst though.
I know. I'm like, it's going to be interesting to actually experience that growing up in my life, because I didn't get to experience her and the memory.
Right.
Like, and vice versa. She didn't get to experience that for me, like seeing her child to have that same gifting in that. But for my memory, for like my upbringing, my story, whatever, would be like, I just like, and I know now studying psychology, being a young age, I shouldn't remember a lot of the daily life, which I don't, but I remember very intense moments, like mom getting dragged out. I remember she was wearing a black and white striped shirt and getting dragged out. Like I remember, and was on around the corner and dad yelled at me to get out, get away. And I just remember that. Like I remember her coming in the window. Now that you said that, that kind of made me think I have a trigger for it, because all my life I was terrified of windows when I sleep.
Me too.
And I never noticed it until she just said that. And I was like, well, I'm going to be praying that one off. Not that I like think of that now, but I definitely had a fear of wind, like weird things like that. I sensed a lot of darkness in our house. I would see things in our room often. Now looking back, I know they were demonic. And I now understand that, but I would be so scared. She was my safety. I was the baby of the family. So to my viewpoint of mom, I loved her. I wanted to be like on her all the time. Literally, if I slept, I wanted to be right next to her. And so it was so confusing. I saw dad as a bad guy most of the time when she was around, like, stop hurting my mom. Like, no. Kind of like I would say that, not like you need to stop her. You were, dumping alcohol. I was like, magic trick, do it again, give us another. And, and then I realized when she was gone, dad was like, you got to toughen up. And so a lot of people want to assume being the baby family was treated a different way. I think it was up till 7. And he was like, you're done. You're not doing this anymore. You're one of the rest of them. And then I felt so differently. I felt so alone. He poured so much into you, and then trickled into you, and then he trickled into you. And then by the time I was, there, it almost felt like you always said he wasn't strict on me, but it almost felt like he didn't give a crap anymore. And so like he didn't come to any of my like sporting events. Maybe came 1 or 2 like basketball games when he could. Or he wanted to. So like my viewpoint on it was, and I know this to be true, and I don't say this with like, for sympathy factors. I realized at a point that my dad didn't love me. Like he didn't love me. He loved what value I made him look. So the first time he ever said he was proud of me was when I graduated high school and I won all the scholarships that I didn't expect to win. I didn't even know they were there. And he was like, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, I realized it made him look really good. But that was the first time he ever said that to me. Every day I would leave, I'd be like, Dad, I love you. And he wouldn't say anything to me. And I would wait until I said, Dad, I love you, and force him to say he loved me. And then I realized now looking back, like that, I wouldn't ever, that was a force. It wasn't genuine. Like he didn't really love me. And I now understand, because of the sickness he was under, the warfare he was under, he didn't know how to love outside of himself. He was so fixated on himself, money, being successful, the image he got, the success, what he could buy with it. That was what I experienced. So for me, we had a great relationship. I never had rebellious years. I volunteered at the church every moment I could because I didn't want to be home. I did 3 sports, so I was gone every season, so I wouldn't have to be home. Brittany was like my buddy. So what upbringing, we would try to be outside the house, but even that got us in trouble, and we got, hit harder than we should have when we were in trouble. And I just remember getting chased down. I remember him putting his foot in my back and like digging in and saying like, and it was anger. It wasn't discipline. And I didn't understand why. So I learned, probably very similar to Brittany, how to quickly not do the wrong thing to get in trouble. Show up time for dinner. My friends, no friends, don't call me, because if you call during dinner, you're grounded.
Right, that's true.
But like I didn't give friends my number. I was I didn't have friends come sleep over. I didn't have friends, like I was lonely because I was so terrified of watching how he treated all of you guys that I didn't even want to come close to it. So we had a great relationship because I knew how to get by to survive. So my upbringing was a lot of survival, a lot of how do I just make him happy enough that he doesn't notice me? Because then once he got to drinking, which was every day post 5, you know, he was already pretty much there. I would go and hide. I would be gone. I'd let him be in his little cave of, you know, the living room, and I would just get lost. So I wouldn't get noticed. Because if you got in one little fight, if he noticed something about you, it would set him off. Oh, yeah. So for me, it was a survival thing. And yet I still loved him. And yet I still thought, like, you're my dad. And I didn't realize until I was 22 and in group therapy at my church that it was really not okay. And I always made this point to say, and we've talked about this before about seeing the best in people. And for me, I always excuse people because I was like, well, he has all 4 of us. That's really hard. That's a lot of stress. He's doing it alone. He had his own trauma. You know, he's, you know, battling addiction. I prayed every night for him to break that. I cried out to God in my bed every night for it to change. And I just felt so much sympathy for him that excused then the bad. And I realized I can forgive the bad and it's still not okay, but I can forgive the bad because I didn't want the control that he had and dictated it anymore on my life. I didn't want him to think that he had any value in his words over me anymore. And that's why the last 2 years after I forgave him and set boundaries, everyone would be like, oh yeah, you're this favorite. And I'm like, no, it's because like he knows. It was like he liked that I stood up against him, but in a way that was, he knew I wasn't kidding. I didn't need him. I never asked for a single dollar from him. He never helped me with one contract. And he was a lawyer, if we didn't say that. Like he used that to like control you guys even as adults. I watched all of you get caught or husbands get caught in things that I'm like, I would never even. I moved into this house with him not even knowing. And he got so mad at me. I sent him the address. He's like, what? I didn't even look over your contract. I'm like, I couldn't afford you. And that's like, I realized a lot of the lies that we were fed made me walk out into a world and treat the world like that was where the rules of the world were. And people were like, just buy you lunch. There's no strings attached. I'm like, there's always strings attached. There's no such thing as free lunch. Don't trust nobody. Yeah, that's right. And it's like years of just unlearning all these things. Yeah. And now I feel like I'm breathing for the first time in my life, just being loved by the Father and know that he had me. I never doubted that God like had me or hid me or protected all of us, that we made it out of that house. And he put women in our life so often that I knew that was his way of saying, it's okay. The lie that you're trying to believe that you're less of a woman because you don't have someone directing your steps in the Lord in that way, it's a lie. And I'm going to prove that constantly. So by the time we met our mom, I do believe like we were all ready to give that forgiveness and release so much of the lies the enemy has put on just with her existence and non-existence in our life. And so for me, like, that's why it was really hard because, you know, not knowing a person and you think that they're going to, I don't know, treat you like a freaking mom would and be nice to you and like you. And she didn't. She didn't. And so I think that was really shocking because I'm like, I don't know, if I didn't see my kids for 3 years after walking away, I probably would be at least nice enough to ask them about their life. But she didn't ask us. No. She knew about your guys' life, but she from Facebook and she knew everything about you. Yeah. Crazy. She got deep on that. Yeah. Like, you sold your business. Wait, and you're like, what? How do you know that?
Let's kind of
I didn't even know that.
I know. I was like, what?
So wait, okay. So our dad dies 2.5 years ago, sudden heart attack, right? It was like quick. We go through all this stuff, but we're all like healing in our own journeys. Yeah. And then at some point we decided, hey, we should like get together and pray together weekly. So we did.
It was when I came home.
Yes. Nicole moved back.
The key.
Yeah. Nicole moved back. We decided like it was best, like, let's do something different. Like, let's change our generational tree. And we decided it was time to pray together, be together, just like really like start opening up together because again, we didn't trust people. And so we
even trust each other.
That's what I mean. Like no,
Yeah.
very little trust.
He made sure we were all islands so we couldn't come together against him.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. That's why this was like important for us to like start trusting each other in a normal way.
Right. So
Yeah, I was at the gym and Chelsea was on the phone with me and I'm like going and running a little bit and she's like telling me her life and I was like, Chelsea, why don't you ever tell me these kind of things? Like, I really want to know this stuff so I can really pray for you. And she's like, yeah. And then we ended up starting to talk about it. I'm like, we need to all pray together. And that really actually changed everything.
It did. It really did. Which then led to an idea God gave, I believe it was me first, but it might have been somebody first that just started springing up.
I was going to say, I said something about the fact that I was getting voicemails without realizing I was in my deleted files. And I came across all these voicemails from mom.
Yeah.
And I said something about that. And that triggered you to be like, oh, well, I have an idea.
Yeah. So
Which
that
was
you guys
funny.
didn't love.
No, but for
did not
years,
love.
I haven't told, because we didn't talk. I said I feel like I've mentioned it to him because she'd call me on like Father's Day. I'm like, I just feel like after I did therapy it was a Christian therapist and she was just trying to rewire a situation. She's like, would you ever meet her? And I'm like, honestly, I would. Before I used to be fearful of like what that meant, what doors would open. Having to have another relationship when I already had this other person I was dealing with, like dad. But I remember being in Chicago in November and I had an opportunity. I was like, how crazy. I'm only 1 hour away from her. And I felt like the Lord said very clearly, you will not go to her alone. I know you can, but you need, I've already have this. Stop trying to do it on your own because it happened so many times. I thought, I'm just going to go up there. I'm just going to go meet her and just let it go kind of thing. I'm so tired of not knowing. I didn't want, and honestly, I think it was you that I felt like the most resistance of not wanting to go. Or found out it was you, but it was. I thought I knew how much you were just like, she's done, dead to us, like done, like whatever. And I'm like, I just feel like it's more for me. Why walk with the Lord to see this out? And he said no, and I'm like, okay. And I was right there. I'm like, okay, I have this chance. He would have immediately been like, do it, like if you want, if you call it, like just go. And I didn't. And then I came home, and like the next week, you said, hey, I feel like the Lord is saying this. And it was the story of that person.
Oh, yes.
The lady in Ohio.
Yeah. So I went to
right.
Ohio, and there was a lady who I did not know. And we got to talking immediately. Felt such peace, felt comfort from her. And we started sharing her story with me. And she had almost the exact same story. And I could not believe it. And she said, have you ever forgiven her? I'm like, yeah, of course I've forgiven her. And I truly believe I had. Like, I really have forgiven her. But all of a sudden, she's like, but have you told her face to face? And I was like, I never even thought about it. Like, to me, it was like done, completely over. Never even thought. That didn't even cross my mind. And so then the Lord was like, I need you to. And I just remember being like, oh gosh, okay, all right, I'll go. Adventure time again, And then I came back and I just said it. And you mentioned that about Chicago, and you mentioned like, oh, it's funny, I added some voicemails, and you didn't say much. And then I was like, okay, let me just pray about this. Prayed about it, and I heard the Lord clearly say, it's time to go. I want all 4 of you, and I need you to go. It's going to release chains. He kept saying, it's going to release chains. It's going to release change. Chains. Edit that one.
Don't edit it, please.
That would be even better. And chains. And then all of a sudden, I came back and I was like, we have to go. When can we go? And then a week? Let's go. We're ready. And that's like, then when I know I hear something from the Lord, I just like, we got to do it. And that was good for us because Nicole and I had a good battle about it. She did not.
And I got to use my therapy skills.
No, that was really
good though for us.
It was really
for
good.
all of us.
Yes.
That was really good. So there was something that
We all process it
but
differently.
the Lord gave me
Yes.
something
That's
I
what it
needed to
was.
share with you, but I didn't know when, and he told me then.
Yeah.
That was one of that.
These
was the
two
time I got
were
to share that.
immediately, yes, let's go. Nicole had some resistance, and so
I was definitely on the fence
After
at
you
first.
saw,
yeah.
your
But I
heart,
saw your
you
heart
shared
in it.
it. Then she said, "I feel."
I was
yeah.
sold that day.
Yeah. You're like, just
I didn't know
wanna-
that.
She
That's
said
true.
that. She said,
Yeah, I
she
didn't
said
realize
that I saw your heart and I care enough like to do it for that, but I have to just check with Jess.
Yeah.
That's her husband.
So what?
We never talked about husbands, so I just
Not
want to
a
make sure
wife.
not. Yeah, there's a husband
Jess.
here, and her husband's same name as this one. So if we say Nick, they are not sister wives.
True. Oh my.
Cheryl, just be clear on that.
Not sister.
Okay, since we've talked about meeting your mom, what was each of your like thoughts about your mom growing up? Not when she lived there, like say when you guys were 15 years old, like when you were each 15, you're now a woman, but your mom's been gone. Like, what was your thought of your mom? Nicole, do you want to start?
Sure. I would say for me, I didn't really think about her much, truly.
Like, I know Chelsea said to me, like, she's like, my mom was basically dead.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
so it was more of like having a dead parent. It wasn't like.
She was literally blocked on my phone. If she ever got my number, I didn't talk to her. I remember the last thing she said. I was 12 years old. She said, well, you are stupid. And I said, fine. And I hang up and I say, I'm never going to talk to you again. And I never did until probably I saw her. That was literally the last time. So January. So it was like 30 years.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Can we go back a second? You were 12 and you talked to her on the phone?
Yeah. Because she
How?
talked
When?
because she wanted
Grandma?
to talk to dad for something.
Oh, she called the house.
She called the house.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know you were 12 when that happened.
Yep.
I knew that she said that to you.
Yeah. I was
That's
12.
pretty messed up, but.
Yeah. So that was really all. I thought she was dead to me. And that's why I didn't want to see her. I was kind of like, I've already worked through a lot, the things that I thought I needed to work through without having her there. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stay. I don't need to like go on a weekend away and, sing Kumbaya. So whatever. I didn't want to bring that up. So that was me. I just thought she was dead to me.
Yeah.
I was gonna say same, kind of like dead to me. I didn't really think too much of her. Although I did have a curiosity about her life and cousins and aunts and family and stuff like that. Because even then, younger, I couldn't imagine just not having any relationship with my grandkids. So I always wondered about her family. But I really didn't think about her often. Like it wasn't like it was, I don't know. It's like it got put on the back burner at such a young age. Like you said, kind of like she was dead to us. So didn't really think too much of her.
I didn't think much of her at all. But I did at times when, because 15 for me was close. 15 for me was a little different. I'm closer to take out her name. Yeah, like for me, it was harder. The only time I ever thought of her was because I was kind of a tomboy. I just wish I had someone to teach me to like do makeup or talk about like crushes I had. And then the only time I really ever thought of her was when my friends would be in fights with their moms, and I'm like, at least you get to like have that conversation. Yeah. But that was a dream of me thinking she was a different person.
Right.
Because we would grow up and every teacher would be like, your mom would bring us dinner. She was the sweetest. And it just continued the idea that she was a sweet dove lady.
Right.
And that's not true. I found out. But when at 15, I would be like, I wish I had somebody to talk to because we weren't close. We fought at that point a lot just because we're teenage girls and whatever. And then I was close to, I admitted this, but my dad actually got remarried and I was the only one that lived in the house with them. And that was the first take of like having a woman around, and she was incredible. Bless her, Lord, for her. And she got out and she realized it too. But for me, I think it was like nice to see that glimpse of like, I dreamed like, oh, would this be like, I see how she is with her daughter. Would that have been with me, with my mom?
And she treated you like a daughter.
She treated me like a daughter.
Yeah.
She's still, still in contact with each other often. And she's the best, incredible person. But that would be the only time I ever thought of our mom would be then. Other than that, never.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. And
I
even
remember
then,
that
Dad would
being
be
a
like,
day.
no, Dad would be like, where's my card? I'm your mother and your father.
That
I
would
wear
just
both
make me mad.
hats. So it was still not like about, she was not existent.
Yeah.
Mine was different because I had like a friend's mom who was sort of in the picture, but I didn't necessarily trust her. So it was more like, I really didn't have a lot of women around that were in my life. So in 15, I kind of figured it out by my friends. So my true outlet was more my friend group and learning from them. So I didn't learn from adults. I didn't have somebody shepherding me as to like be this, do that. Our grandma was great, but she was strict and didn't understand. We would go summers there. So a lot of my teenage years, summers were spent with my aunt, who was awesome. Aunt Jennifer, who's awesome. She really helped and really gave us what we needed, but at the same time was more like almost at the same time survival, you know?
Yeah. There was 6 of us.
There's so
total
many of us.
in
Yeah.
that. It was
Like
too
her
much.
2 kids and then us. So it was a lot of just
Yeah.
speaking, but she loved us.
She loved us.
She still loves us. We love her.
Yes, they love us. So I think that for me, I did not think of her in any good from years before she left. That all of this, I was kind of like, oh, okay, figure it out. Now she's gone, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like that was more my mindset. Like, we'll be fine now. There's no fighting. There's no alcohol. There's no knocking in the door in the middle of the night. There was just none of that. Yes, we had to deal with our dad, but I felt like, okay, he passes out at 9. We're good. Like it really was
So
that
true.
mindset. Like that truly was. And I think I didn't recognize it until he died, because then all of a sudden, hate saying this, but I've said it a few times, I felt freedom for the very first time in my life. And I cried, definitely. I was emotional because I loved my dad, but it was not the same. So for my mom, it just was like, done. You weren't part of the team that I always grew up thinking were a team. And now all of a sudden you're not a team, so you're out. And I just cut you out. And we talked about this last week. It's like, all right, once I'm done, like I can put up a wall and move on, emotionally staying positive of like, okay, we're all in this together then. We'll fight off anyone who comes our way. And I think that's how it ended.
I'm the person who like opens the window and gives the person a blanket because they're stuck
Oh.
outside.
Well,
I got
we
you,
still
Nicole.
did.
No, but I'm saying though, like with her, I didn't see that way.
Yeah.
I saw it as like, felt so bad for her,
Yeah.
you know, because I feel like that's what's
Yeah.
so interesting.
So we have
such opposite views.
Completely.
Like my villain was a different villain for you.
Yeah.
And like growing up, you were able to be like, what's up to dad? And dad, I was like, how do I make sure to like get by with you so you don't really see me?
But I felt like with my relationship with my dad in those teenage years, I played the game. And I say this, and I hate saying it like it, but it was the truth. Like, if I was good, I'll be there. If I did well, good. You feel good? Good. Let's just keep going to get out of this house. Like, I just really tried to get out of the house.
Yeah.
Summers.
Yeah, I think we all were like that.
I think we all were
were
like
like,
that.
let's get out.
So if
18,
we could just like
took
be
all my
good
stuff and never came back.
and even when it was like directed at you, I would just be like, chill out, dad. Like I would always be like, calm down.
Yeah.
Like, she's trying to
Protective.
tell you this. She's trying to communicate like this. Like I would be like that with you guys. Like I was very much like the middle person of what it was kids versus dad. And I was this weird in between.
Peacemaker.
But that
Yeah.
was hard when you graduated and went to college.
Right. Which is, I didn't
Because
go
that-
far.
at that point,
because
because
of
like-
you guys.
I think I learned to a point.
That's
To a
when you
point.
went to the homecoming, Nicole.
Oh, well, yes. That's why I said to a point.
Okay.
There is still some stuff
I'm not
that
saying,
happened.
but I'm saying though, like you
Say
weren't like
that.
outright.
Yeah.
You didn't have your doors taken off. Well, you did
I
have
learned a
one
little
time.
bit more.
What are you saying?
I think
Explain
I think I was standing up for myself because I felt I needed to. Because I felt all my love was taken away, all my desire, like my belonging maybe was taken away, my wantedness, I don't know if that's a word, it was taken
By
away.
dad?
Yes.
Okay.
So as I was like living my life, I think that I was trying to protect myself. And so that's where the anger came in, where, if anyone came at me, it was like, that's what I'm supposed to do is come at you and like, just like try to rip your head off kind of thing. But then I think as I was growing, the Lord really started shaping my heart. I remember I was 10. We were in a fight. Dad was like, I think it's time to give your life to Jesus. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to go to hell. And so I literally sat down and I was like, I felt bad because I was yelling at you. And I was like, all right, Lord, I said the prayer and all the things. And then, if it was a life change, maybe, I think it was a little bit of something. And then once I went through high school, that's when I really got to know Christ as my savior. I got baptized. I felt the change, the shift. I couldn't get out of the Bible. Like I was telling my kids the other day, I was like, I literally was reading the Bible in class and they couldn't say anything. Like, Nicole, pay attention, because I was reading the Bible. I was soaking it up. It was my life. It was everything that I
that.
do too.
I remember that.
Can you share that one story though, when it was like the darkest and you're in your room and the Lord gave you a verse?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I was a teenager. So it was during that time. I was soaking up the word of God and I was just like, man, this is everything. This is making me feel loved. This is making me feel accepted, like grace, peace, joy, all of it. I'm like, this is normal. I'm like, what I'm kind of dealing with, I'm starting to see the difference between normal and not normal, but I didn't think of it like that. And he sat me in my room because I'd go to my room as a shelter. I would shut the door and I would just be reading the word of God. I'd play my boombox. Yeah, 90s. Come on.
The big old one.
It was huge.
Backstreet Boys.
No, she's Destiny's Child.
Destiny's Child.
NSYNC, I thought.
No, she's Destiny's
It
Child.
was NSYNC, but there was some Destiny in there. Anyways, this time around I was playing like the Newsboys. Okay, that's come on. And so
Boss
I
was like, who are they?
I know. Oh, wait, for real? He wouldn't have an idea, right?
Wait, do you know who it is?
Newsboys?
Oh my God. I'm not judging you.
10th Avenue North.
10th Avenue North.
Oh, well,
Yes.
that's different.
Oh, I was great. Anyways, I sat there and God gave me a verse. And it was, I believe it's in Proverbs. It could be in Psalms. It's like leaving my mind right now, but it basically was like, if your mom or dad like leave you, abandon you, the Lord will always be faithful. He will never leave you. And for some reason, that was like, my mind was blown. And I was like, yes, Lord, this is the start of something new for me. Because I was like, I never saw God as necessarily, I think, my father at that point. He was always just God and he was safe. But that's all I knew of him as. And at that point it was his father. And I was like, wow, that's what he's supposed to be. Then I would like go to my dad and be like, well, this is how God wants you to be. And obviously that was not the best response. But I think as I was learning, that kind of stopped a little bit. And then towards maybe like 18, I'm learning a little bit more. But I think it wasn't until I was married and my husband really softened me. God used him so greatly to soften my heart and just really kind of realize what like true love really looks like. And I think that's when I was like, okay, I can like take that wall down and stop guarding myself so hard. And that's when he started like working so much in my heart. It's very cool.
Very cool. It's very sad. I don't know.
Do you want that?
The first,
I was gonna pass
the
one to
first
you.
crier.
I don't cry.
I do dead dog style. I go in the corner and hide. You know, dogs when they go hide, they
do
go
not
hide.
cry.
That's how I used to always.
I cried.
I do not cry ever.
I said it as a joke. I look at you guys all, and I just think of. I mean, oh gosh, I'm just like. I just feel like there's such a redemption in our story, and it's not just that. It's like. You guys have taken each of your journeys with the Lord. Oh my gosh. You have taken your journey with God as a father. And now this love that has like deeply woven in your hearts, in like the crevices of your hearts to like penetrate out into your children and your husbands and all of that. It's like, yes, I felt freedom once dad died, but what I feel like release is like the freedom within you guys is that you are living for the Lord. You guys are seeking him. All you want is his presence. And I think that is something that you can only do when you surrender. And so I think that's the beautiful thing of our story is like, yes, it was dark, but there's the light, and we always saw the light.
Yeah.
And we always went towards the good when it felt we were surrounded by evil. Yeah. And hearing, like, I just think of like I think of it, my daughter Riley sitting in her room, like I could not imagine that, but at that point God had to get you there to the surrender and to the place of knowing, like, I am your father, though.
It's like, I love you.
Yeah.
Like, we never had that genuine, like, love, but I agree. I feel like I never questioned God. In the midst of it, it was almost like the only safety I had was God. The only person, I couldn't get over the fact that he just knew me so well that even though I felt so misunderstood by everybody, even in my own family, I knew he didn't misunderstand me, that I was seen and loved. And so I do love that, because I don't know how I shifted into just the father, because I do know there was some years of me having to unlearn what a father looked like, a real father looked like. But it feels so cool how, he always goes for the one lost sheep, and like the prodigal son. I always felt like that was all I needed to know that I wasn't like lost in a dark family situation. Like he was always I always joke, it's like a cloak of hidden, whatever they do, like over us, so that we can just survive, so that we can blossom and really use this to not be hindered. I never want to be a victim, because I'm not. Yeah. I'm not. I have forgiven. I've released. It is not who I am. And the enemy wants it to be the thing that holds me back from really walking in and voicing out the calling of what God has done. But the true victory isn't, a sharing the darkness. It's sharing the light. It's sharing what God has done in us, how much he's protected us. Meeting our mother, I know all of us walked out of there being like, wow, you protected me from even more than I knew. Absolutely. Even more, like, her response to just me was so shocking that it was laughable. Nicole saw it once, and it was so funny.
Can you share this? I feel like we should really dive.
We can dive into this. Do you have a question? I feel like
it's perfect, because that whole led for me saying, "What did you think of her as a teenager?" And my follow up to that was, "What do you think of her now? Now that you have met her?"
Yeah.
And so
so we can segue into that. So we met her, and that was a shock of my existence, I think, for me, because I just, like we all said, we all had this pretty similar idea of just who she was. Just like Brittany, but older, kind of thing. But not Brittany, like not Brittany's choices. I'm just saying, like, she similar in body type, or her gentleness and kindness. And that does not exist after meeting her. I don't think she's got that much. Brittany is saved by grace and experienced the beauty of Jesus. And that is what is radiating out of her, is the image of God. And we all allowed that to be something that it's not. Me, mom, was not that. She does not have kindness or gentleness or nurturing in any part of her. But I don't think that she didn't. I don't think when she was younger, I just think she has chosen a path that has led her darker and darker and harden and harden. So what we got, so the whole concept is, when she met me, I think I was the only one she didn't know. She like knew you, not even saying like Facebook. I'm saying she knew you because you were like 8, 9, 10. She knew you. She just assumed you to be herself. So it didn't even matter if she knew you, because we're souls are tied, kind of thing. That's what, but for me, she didn't know anything about me. I was literally my son's age when she left, like she didn't know who I became, or she never had that thing. So I was a little shocked by her being so shocked by me. But I think it was that mirror concept. And that's why I said it that way, because that was one thing I journaled after. I was the mirror for her. And the things that she almost like didn't like of herself, she saw in me. But they're not bad things. She was probably told they were. And so when she saw it, she was like, "You're just like your father. You're just like Donald."
Right.
And I was like, my quick wit, just like her, I wanted to be like, "Well, what do you think when I was raised by just him? Like, what do you think is going to happen when I have been raised? You were gone."
That's a good one.
But I didn't say that, because I did feel like the Lord called us there for a purpose. And that there was a huge enemy presence when speaking with her. That wasn't
absolutely.
her. It wasn't her. There was a demonic force there. and she would make comments about me and my body. She would make comments a lot about Melissa and Brittany specifically and their bodies, and then would turn to like me and look me up and down and then be like, and walk away. And it made me like laugh at first, because then she looked at Nicole too, and we both looked at each other like, wow, okay. Because my dad really cared about that. Really cared about the way we looked. We couldn't be sloppy. We had to be like, he wouldn't let me, Brittany can eat ice cream. You had to go run a mile before you can eat ice cream, is what he told me. You could be too fat to fit through the door. No one's gonna like you. Like he spoke that over me my whole life. And then to meet this lady who, you know, it's so funny. I say this lady because she's not like, I don't consider her like, she didn't mother me. She's my biological mother, but to meet her and her first comments is like my appearance. I was like laughable. We were traveling all day. I just had a baby, like, I don't know, a year and a half ago. Like I was just laughing at how crazy. And I knew immediately when she did that God protected me, that I probably would have ended up, I don't even know how worse about my body image. The image that God made this. And she had she had me in her belly, and she had the audacity to just judge the way I looked, even though it was her child. Yeah. Like I can't even imagine doing that to my kids. Like not seeing your kid, and 30 years later, the first thing you're saying is obviously the obvious. She was nervous. She was saying how pretty we were. She was sharing how proud she was with every single person that she lives in a assistant living. And she was showing her 4 beautiful girls. It was all, but for me, it did show me her true heart, her true desire, what she cared the most about. And what she cared, ironically, hit me that she cared the same thing that our dad cared about, which was how much of you, of me is in you? How much of you looks like me? Appearance, personality, things like that. Like, do I like who you are? Oh, I don't. I reject you. I got 3 more. I don't need you.
Right.
And it was like interesting to witness it and also be a part of it. That I said to, I don't know if I said it to you yesterday or somebody about this, where I'm like, you almost had to step back and know we were in the natural, and I was as a child experiencing a new hurt as a mother just rejecting her child. But I knew it was this, if I step back spiritually, I was like, this is a demonic, there's a demon here. Yeah. And he knows I sense him. And he knows that I sense that this isn't my mother I'm speaking to, because all I was doing was speaking truth over her. Yeah. Trying to bring forgiveness, all of us, and she was just nasty to me.
She hit triggers that only the enemy
knows. She didn't know me, so how does she trigger each of us on our things? We're like,
so she would say things that Chelsea would feel like, then suddenly like
walls.
Right. What am I feeling? And you called it out.
I mean, in general, though, so we prayed for 9 months together every week. We really had that bond. God really spoke to us, really led us there. We go there after having like, you know, our little like thing that we were dealing with, lots of like enemy warfare. We get there and it's like the enemy is like using all his old tricks on us, using all the things that he thinks that through our bloodline is going to basically affect us, because he's been doing that our whole lives. And as you were even talking, I was thinking about this of like, you know, the enemy was trying, if he didn't get to mom, he went straight to dad. And if he didn't get to us from dad, he's going to try other areas. But God was like, no, these are my girls. I'm going to protect them and I'm going to lead them out of this huge place. And when our dad died, I think that's when the threshold, we were like over that threshold. We're like, all right, now it's time. This is our bloodline, and we are going to rise up. We're going to have the authority that we have in Christ to go after the things that he has tried to take from us our whole lives. So when we went to mom and dealt with that whole thing, it was like the enemy's like attempt, like, hey, I'm back. Here's what's going on. And like you saw it clearly. Right. And I took the other side of it when I remember I was coming up to you and I was like, I have a word from God, Psalms, or was it Proverbs?
Yeah, it was Proverbs.
And I read through it and we were like, all right, let's go. This is the second day. We're going to come after it. And I was like, I think we need to pray over her. I think we need to just try to tell her we forgive her.
Well, I
30
said,
years and
I said, I think that the reality was the first day we were all so nervous, and you could tell she was. Like, I think she was very much assuming we were all coming in here to be
Attack
like,
her.
okay, you gotta tell us why you left, why you why did you hate us, or we hate you, or she was fearful. And I know Melissa was pretty much trying to like calm it down so we could like get somewhere, because we needed direction here. And she was like, we forgive you. And then I had a conversation with Melissa, and I'm like, I really think it's going to be more powerful for us. I feel like the Lord's saying we each individually have to. So then we talked before going.
Yeah.
And I said, if you feel called, like I'm not like, not all of us have to do it. And within the first 20 minutes, she just like, it came up.
Yeah.
And we went around, and she looked at, I thought it was so ironic, and I thought, how cool was it? The one person who didn't want to go was the first person to forgive her.
Yeah.
And then you said, I forgive you. And then Brittany said, I forgive you.
Well, it was really neat too, because before all that, we all got to share like struggles that we had and what the Lord's done in our life to help us overcome certain things, like giving glory to God for the life we have and who we are standing before her with imperfect parents that really statistically we should have all ended up terrible.
The same way.
In the same way. But the Lord saved us, and we all got to share that all before we got to ask her for, or tell her that we forgive her. Whether she didn't even ask for that. Like that
Nicole
wouldn't have
didn't
she
say sorry.
She didn't say sorry.
It came up. Yeah,
There was no remorse.
No, there wasn't. There was never
we didn't
like,
care. We weren't there for that.
And I didn't need her to say she's sorry. To give her for her forgiveness. That was in my heart. I had forgiven her a long time ago, but she had never heard it from me in person. And I thought it was really, I thought that was just really powerful. That was like, that's when we ended up going around sharing those things, telling her we forgave her, and then we prayed over her. Yeah. And there was this sense immediately after we were done praying of peace. Yes. I was ready. I was like, I'm done. We're good.
Same.
I feel
walked out. I'm like, all right, I'm out of here.
And yet we still had a dinner with her and more to come. But it was just one of those really neat experiences where afterwards there was just such a weight lifted and such a peace. That's the best word I can come up with in my own heart. Peace about it. I was ready to leave at that point.
I think that like it was like a full like circle redemption. That's what I see. Even like now, it was like we went back to our childhood and said, "We forgive you. This is the Lord's." And it's like we anointed that moment of our childhood, and we redeemed it, and we brought it back. We said, nope, we're done. We're going to leave everything behind. We've learned what we need to. We know what we need to do, and now let's go. And now I think our main focus is let our kids, our families, whatever next God is doing in our lives. And I think that's really the biggest thing that I kind of came away with. And it was such a blessing to me. As much as I fought it, it was such a blessing to do it with you guys. Like, it was awesome.
I think to your question, you were saying like, what do we think about her now? I don't. That was the first Mother's Day in a long time. I just didn't even like think about her literally at all. Like, it wasn't even like I had a mom anymore. And it's not even that I say that in a mean way or whatever. I truly feel God released me from the yoke and the agreements I came into as a young child with that relationship, with what Dad spoke over that relationship, the rest of our upbringing, and also the lies I accepted of my identity as a woman, as a mother, as a child of God, as what that looks like. I think I immediately was like, man, I'm a good mom. Where I question or I have mom guilt or all this stuff, I'm like, no, I'm good. Don't question that anymore. Like, I don't need to question it. I love my children so much. I have a child just like me. And instead of, pushing them away, I am being like, how can I get better to be better for you, to mold you, to be exactly who God's created you to be. And I look at that experience as, it's so funny. She has she called any of you guys? She called you. Did she call for any kids' birthdays?
No. She called for Aiden? No.
She called for one of yours.
I thought it was one.
Yeah, but didn't she call for Jace or something?
I think it was Aiden, because it was right after we left.
And the first thing I said, I was like, she ain't calling me ever again. Like, she will never. And I know that. Yeah. I know that. And I was okay. Like, it does. I do not feel anything about her in a good way. Yeah. Like, I just feel so released. If anything, I'm just more regretful that we didn't have her sister in our life. you know, an aunt like her. She would have been beautiful to have those years. Someone I would have called for sure during those hard times. I would call her over, obviously calling my mom. And the person I thought my mom was actually my aunt. Like she's joyful, loving the Lord. Like her complexion was just bright.
Yeah.
She had a bright heart. It was just, I wanted to be around her. And I think that was the interesting takeaway, was realizing, you know, something that the Lord always does is he will take away from the wicked and restore that. And I knew in that moment, what God is like, protect us from the enemy tried to destroy, he was going to give us and our family tenfold back and the next generation. And so I think we all walked away being like, it's released.
Yeah.
I'm now pouring into my family. I feel renewed as a mother, as a wife. I feel like this energy to come back and like give it back and like be done with these lies and agreements anymore. Like they are literally washed off of me. It wasn't even like I had to break or sever. It literally felt like that moment I forgave her was like, I'm done. I'm done with this. She just kept going, but you know.
An important context about your mom, I feel like missing, is that she wasn't healed of like addiction.
No. Oh yeah, she was she was lying too about that. She was trying to act. And I get it. Again, my heart for her is like God loves her and that she just wanted to be seen a certain way for us to love her. And it's a misunderstanding of what genuine love is, but she was hiding all the addiction still. And when her sister would bring things up, that's when I saw a demonic thing come out of her. And it just goes to show, was like creep, and then it would spark and she'd get angry about something. You would see it and you're like, yeah.
I think it's, not easy. You'd think like, she didn't lead you guys and get remarried and turn her life around.
Oh no, if anything, he actually encouraged it more.
Yeah, he enabled her.
Yeah, and I would say too to that is like, so when I first met her, at first I was like, oh my gosh, here she is.
No, I walked in not realizing she was going to be the first person.
No one
that
did.
was me.
Yeah.
I was.
We didn't
she was standing there.
I was like, I think that's
the lobby.
But I think
know
that
what
the
she looked
moments, those childhood moments that you do receive as a kid, like you can tell when somebody's safe and when somebody's not safe. I like remember like looking at her that first moment. I was like, oh my gosh, it's everything that I did remember. Yeah. And so to answer your question is that
your intuition was correct.
Yeah, my intuition was correct. The lie of the enemy was that she was Brittany, who is like kind, gentle, sweet, and loving. And then you see her and you're like, oh, you have carried all of this all these years. You have held this deep anger, this deep jealousy, this deep like idol worship of yourself. And the pride literally carried you to this breaking point that you're in a home with nobody. Right? No one except her sister, who is loving and caring
trying
for
her
her
heart out to love you.
Who she would yell at and tell him, stop telling us things that were the truth.
That we already knew about.
That
That was what's weird, that those things we already knew about,
Still
and she was
hiding.
so hiding it. And I'm like, why at this point?
And I think that at that point, the feeling of feeling bad for her came out. Like, release this. Yeah. Give yourself to the Lord. Like, surrender this. You don't have to carry these things anymore. And we are telling you, you're forgiven. And from us, like, how much more are you loved and given grace and mercy from your Father in heaven? So I think some of that was the moment I realized, like, oh, wow, I feel so bad for you. And you have freedom. And then when we prayed over her, I felt a release of freedom. And then exactly what you said is like the joy of what we have and like the desire that burned back into me of like, we are blessed. We have amazing husbands. We have amazing kids. Like we have this role that we can give in a way that's not normal, but yet we can shepherd them with truth and we can and be honest and tell them like the struggles that we're facing. And I don't know, it gave me this like renewed like energy of like, oh yes.
And we had a good conversation one night that I do believe was like the second level of needing to break off these lies that I wouldn't even just say our parents put on us too, but the enemy did.
Yes.
You know, in it. And Brittany was a good witness of that, and Nicole is asleep. Don't worry, we told you. But
We went after every night. We sat down. We
were
got
only
a
there for
place,
2 days.
2 nights, but
Two
each
nights.
night we found this great little place.
It was great.
It was
we needed
so
something
cozy.
after.
It was
debriefed.
wonderful. We would debrief. We would cry. We would share. We would vent. We would like realize all these things, and it was exactly what we needed. But this one night in particular, you felt it, and you were like
That's
sharing.
I said that we both shared a lot of our things where we can both be like, I forgive you, or I'm sorry, like ask for forgiveness, be done with it, because it was like lies. It wasn't even like the genuine truth. We just didn't know in that way. And I truly believe that was a catalyst of this podcast. I said that we needed to break off that one thing that was holding what the Lord wanted to give us.
Yeah.
And it was needing it through that release process, to a point where when it came up, it was like, okay, it's easy. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And we haven't disagreed about anything. And a lot of people always say, you even said it in the beginning, like, you're going to tell that these two are the middle, you guys are the middle children and us aren't. And it's because we obviously are a little bit not afraid to speak and be loud, very loud, a lot of this. Melissa does this every time. Yeah, that's it. We're here. But I do believe that there's redemption in all of our stories that go past it. Like even what God did for you with, you know, something that you broke through with your job and things like that, and led you to open up in a new way. And you said, like, I know God's big things coming now.
Yeah.
And it has. I would say it has.
100%.
For
You
sure.
know, and that was right after too.
Yeah.
That was right after you said that. You
Yeah.
spoke it over all of us. You said, I know now that it's
Something
released
big's
and
coming.
God's going to bring big things for us.
Yeah.
It's funny because I look back and I can't tell you how many times I've thought of our trip, and I walked away with like an overall thankfulness to the Lord for his protection in growing up. Like beyond anything, like I left with so much joy because of the seeing God for who he is. And like I've always said, obviously I trust the Lord, but like to trust him and like then to see the big picture and see how he was working all through our upbringing and bringing us to where we are now, it's unbelievable. But now I look back and my faith grew so much. So anytime trials have come up since, like I think back on that and I'm like, this is nothing. Like, God's got this. Like if he had all my upbringing, how much more can I trust him now? And I feel like I have my faith grew so much through just learning about the big picture of what he, you know, was doing in our lives. I think that's
true.
the neatest thing.
I think that the enemy was really trying to go after our identity from the beginning of time. And so like from all of our upbringing, we each have our own little identity things that I think each of us kind of had to go through. And like for me, it was, you know, I felt unwanted. That was kind of the biggest thing. Like as a child, I felt, and it's funny because I have my journal here and I was reading through it and I turned to the page that I was on, and God was telling me the day before I went up there that I was a signet ring to him. And I was like, what in the world is a signet ring? I don't know. Maybe I should. But I defined it and it says it's what a king used to seal like his documents. So it was very unique. It was very special. It was chosen. They would like etch it out like specifically, so you knew that signet ring belonged to that king. And he told me that, and it's used with authority. Your right hand was usually when the ring was held on it. And it means divine favor. And God was like, Nicole, all these years I had been like working through your identity. Like I wanted you to know whose you were in me. And, you know, just making sure that the truth was always the thing I went back to. That's why I think I was so obsessed with his word, because I was like, this is the truth. And so I would always go back. And he said, you know, the signet ring, he showed me like a vision of him just going like this to like all his like important people, I would say. And he would just look at it and he'd go like this. And I was just like, Lord, wow, thank you for choosing me out of everyone to like like be chosen. And, you know, he kept giving me this verse that said like, many are called, few are chosen. And I just was like, okay, Lord. And so I think going up there, having that as like throughout the years, just kind of working through who I am in Christ and whose I am and how to live. I go there, I see mom in that place where I already mentioned it was like that full like circle redemption. She's still stuck in that identity that she always had. And 30 years later, I'm so far out of that identity that God took me. And it was just so special to me because I was just like, yes, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for like cultivating that in my heart, that chosen, you are loved. You are dearly, dearly loved. You are precious to me. And he even says it even now, like I'm going through the book of Daniel and he said, I think it was like 4 times, Daniel, you are precious to me. And all Daniel really did was pray, fast, and read his word. And those are like such simple things, but that's what I was doing throughout my childhood, and then going back and seeing our mom and like how she lived her life and where she was stuck in. She was so stuck in that place that I feel like I was like, wow, Lord, thank you for choosing me and my sisters to speak like such a word to her. And just like, if we just kind of like left it there, if she wanted to take it, awesome. If she didn't, that was okay too. But we obviously like learned so much, and I just felt that protection and like love from the Lord. And it was just so special to me. And it really did change everything. Yeah. God really like, you know, just provided this amazing job for me that I am just loving. It's amazing. And it's literally what I like, it's my purpose. It's like what God created me for. And it's like just molding me into this place. I could go on and on about it, but and you know, I was just thinking about like so the wanted. Rest. I am so wanted.
No, you are.
But that's what
I know you are. No, I know you are. Like it's been.
Yeah.
It's not even. It's you might be getting that word from the Lord, but you're literally. You know, I know I've gotten texts and you're loved because you are seen where you're at, and it's because God has put somebody who's also fears him and loves him.
That's right.
As your Ross.
That's right.
And that is such a beautiful gift to be able to be in a working environment that someone sees your soul more than they just see what you can do. Because I think that's the hardest thing for all 4 of us is we were so valued for what we could do.
Exactly.
And so when someone sees you and holds you in it and be like, that's so great, but I see your heart. And that's what Jesus, like, that's what God has done for each of us. Right. He's like, I see you don't need to do all that. Yeah. You can just be held by me. Right. And I think that's like the coolest thing I think about seeing what happened right after. You're like, you called that, but you didn't call it. Like God gave you that word. Yeah. And I think it's interesting because all 3 of you had very similar experiences immediately. And I feel like I was in this like turmoil during it, but it wasn't about the natural for me, I think. And I feel like our quiet times, that was another thing I love that we did. We all just like did our own thing all the hours. And like, we're so similar that I don't have to explain this. Like it's not a question. I just needed alone time. And I think a lot of us needed that time too. But like, it's cool to hear, you know, you said that to us and I don't have my journal in front of me, but I know, thanks memory. I know exactly the thing I wrote one of the mornings that God spoke to me. It was snowing and it was the snowflake. And it was that same concept that he said, I created each of these so special and individual, and you are so special. Like, even though you feel like you're in the midst of like pile of snow, like you can just be in this world and you feel like I'm just like everyone else. He's like, no, I made you special. And the word someone gave me right after I got back, not knowing a single thing, was like, you have so much favor. And I said, we have so much favor. And it didn't feel like favor because it felt like famine growing up. And then it turned into like the real, like once we met our mom, like you said, I put all the pieces together and I'm like, oh, it's favor. He protected and gave us, and we should have all been a different story. And everyone can say, man, you know what they always say, man, what a saint your father is. He's raised you for to love the Lord. And I'm like, no, yeah, our Father, Heavenly Father met us and he raised us to love him and see him in every aspect of our life, that we are that ring but all his children are
Yeah.
that ring.
Right.
But it's so special to see a vision where you actually are chosen, because I think that's a beautiful picture of what knowing the Lord looks like. It's not a lie to feel that special connection,
Right.
because that's what he wants for each of his children. He loves us and made us every single part of us.
Right.
So it's such a beautiful thing to share, because it reminded me that even though the turmoil of that trip for me was it was identity. The enemy was trying to question my identity, because I met this person who was, I don't mean this physically fully in that, but it was ugly, and it was so similar. And I'm like, oh, I don't like that.
Right.
I don't like that. And then the Lord just spoke so gentle during that for me, that I felt like it was this spiritual battle for me. So I left that weekend exhausted.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was exhausted. I know you kept speaking into me
Chelsea, no,
don't listen to her. Don't listen to the enemy's voice to you.
Any agreements with
Yeah,
this.
but it wasn't like I was. It was just I didn't expect the battle to be like that.
You came in thinking something completely different.
I was just oh, I have no thoughts or expectations. And then it was boom. We're talking and dealing with you, and I'm coming at you.
Right.
It felt like it wasn't her. It was the enemy's I'm coming at you, because you're the one that's so comfortable with sharing whatever. We're not.
And it kind of shows me too why he said don't go alone.
Oh yeah, because imagine if I did.
imagine?
Yeah. Because also we fasted together and prayed together.
Yeah.
Worship
To
together.
prepare, we worshiped, we were prepared. God took us and prepared us for such a time as that. And if you were outside of that,
The covering.
that
that covering.
it would have been coming back completely different.
Yeah.
But
I
even-
didn't. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I was gonna say, even being there, our personalities, we all brought something different to the table.
Completely.
Where you were really resistant, but when we were there, you were really strong.
Great, peaceful.
And very
Making jokes.
Yeah,
I was.
But then I do too. I was woohoo! Let's bring some fun to this. We're gonna be together for a weekend. Let's enjoy it.
She was so joyful.
And-
I got some good.
So fun.
I got some great videos. I love them. I love that about you.
Yes.
That you really brought a lightness to
You
it.
did.
Like when we went in the snow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. With their face in the snow.
We did too.
I remember that.
But I appreciate that.
I think it's really amazing how you were saying if you were to have gone by yourself
Yeah.
who
Oh, I
knows the
know.
outcome. All of us went at the right timing,
You need that
prepared,
accountability.
and we all brought something
Yeah.
different to the table so that we can be stronger together. We were way stronger together than we would have been if any one of us went by ourselves.
Totally.
Completely.
And that's why I do think that, obviously, the enemy's going to do whatever he wants to just shoot those arrows to hit whatever he can to get into your mind and to take that identity off of Christ and onto yourself, your situation, your past, your
Vulnerabilities.
testimony, whatever it is. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what was so cool about us going together. And even now, after, just talking through those things and realizing that the word of God is more powerful than anything else, and it's our shield. It's the thing that's going to protect us. And I think that was cool about us going together. We all just kind of use that and just
Well, whenever
did what we needed
somebody needed it, we still stood up and protected each other.
Oh yes.
yeah,
That was what was funny.
right.
Oh yeah, that last dinner,
We just-
Nicole, she piped up. Do you remember that when you got real quiet?
Oh,
You
yeah.
got real quiet.
Well,
She held the conversation.
Oh yeah,
I was like, I'm done.
I was
I'm done
I'm
fighting.
so done. And I felt so bad because I was our aunt was with us.
Yes.
And that poor thing also was getting
Took a
beaten down
beating,
too
yeah.
for the same thing. And I was like, I don't got nothing in me.
And then
no more
Nicole
for this.
said-
and
So
Nicole
the
showed
ones who
up.
are talkers, we were the ones who brought it
We
through.
showed up.
We did.
But it goes to show you how important being interwoven with people who also have a relationship with the Lord when you go into battle. You have God ahead of us and in it, but there was times where I just speaking truth of saying, don't listen to that voice. That's the enemy's voice right there. And I literally, my journals are so funny because it was so intimate with speaking to my actual parent. I felt I said, I walk away knowing you were my only parent ever, God. I don't have parents.
Right.
I never did. I had two people who cared more about themselves and didn't know me at all. I I just dream to know everything about my kids. Like, I just want to know their hearts and know what they love. And I find them so funny and all these things. And yes, you can see stuff of yourself in them, but it's so cool that God mixed, you and your husband have this person that's on this earth that's all uniquely themselves. And I just took that away from that, just knowing that regardless of what was said to me, I literally walked in and be like, well, both my parents don't really like me. Like, that's hilarious. But also, like, you love me. I felt so held in the moments I would come back to the Father and just be like, I need to be held right now. I'm exhausted from this fight of something I didn't think I was even fighting. I didn't even think, because I wasn't, but I felt like it was so physically exhausting to me that I was exhausted by those mornings. I had to just be by myself. Like, I just need a little alone time. I need a lot of alone time with the Lord to gain energy to go back into battle with this person, because it wasn't her. I truly felt a spiritual thing with her that I walked away, just instead of, wanting to take those lies on, I go, okay, I release this to you, Lord. But I do know, like, the enemy is powerful. I'm not saying he has the same, I don't give power to him, but it's easy to let your emotions, if you don't check them, to realize the truth. And truth is just is logical. It is like the word of God is logical. If you allow those emotions to take over your thoughts, that is how the enemy creeps in. It was no power. She had no power, but I didn't protect myself to the vulnerability of knowing she could be more aggressive than like how she was. I was thinking soft, gentle little sheep, and we were dealing with a wolf. And I didn't realize we were going to go in that, but God did. So that preparation, that putting us together was so important. I believe for each of those times.
For sure.
Oh, commentator.
Brittany mentioned earlier that basically meeting your mom kind of pulled everything full circle, or like painted the picture more clearly. I knew your dad the least out of everybody, like your guys' husband, stuff like that.
That's nice for you.
Yes. So when did you realize, each of you, and start with Brittany, your dad wasn't the victim? Because I feel like that was kind of his whole shtick, was being a martyr and being the victim. And can you believe the bank is doing this to me? Can you believe my wife was an alcoholic and left me? Can you that was kind of his whole thing, was like, look how hard my life is, but I'm still doing it. Like, I'm still going. It's like, no, you're making your life really freaking hard on yourself. And when did you guys realize that? Like, maybe particularly with their marriage, like when he wasn't the victim. Like, because I know he tried to paint it to you guys like your mom is the devil herself, and this is her fault. Everything that's wrong in our life is probably her fault.
Yeah.
Which there was truth to that, but
I think there's some stuff we learned, obviously, from seeing him firsthand as we got older that was ugly. And obviously we saw it for what it was. But I think and you could probably agree with this, when he got married again later, just witnessing how he, acted towards that, his wife. And then hearing about like just some of the things that were going on there from her. I know you witnessed a lot more than I did with that. I was out of the house, I think, when they first got married. Yeah. So, but just hearing from her, just how he treated her, I think that brought a lot of, there's two sides to this story. And I think that was all around the same time I got married. I got married young, so 21. And I think my husband brought a lot of light to a lot of that as well. Just seeing how his parents were, witnessing firsthand like a good marriage, and then seeing how, wow, that's probably why he did that. And, just kind of, I like a lot of this stuff I feel like I learned later than a lot of you guys did. I don't even feel like I was trying to protect myself from those things growing up. I just think I was living like very trusting. And then just seeing how my husband was able to point out a lot of those discrepancies with his just being honest. He was very much a liar. He lied to my husband, and my husband dealt with his pride and selfishness and greed firsthand. So I think a lot of those things I learned just through my husband and like his pointing him out to me. I don't even think I fully understood how he was really until this trip. And even some of the things you shared that night that you're talking about, there was you guys dealing with some of the heart issues that were going on. But you shared some stuff with us that night that I have written in my journal about, because I think there was a lot that went on that we didn't know about. And I think hearing it from our mother was one thing, but then hearing it from you was very different. You were very vulnerable with us about those things, and I don't think you had been in the past quite as much. And I still think you were protecting, still even in that conversation, for our sake, which I think is very kind of you, a weight that you don't have to carry. But I think even just you and the way that some of the things you shared with us was like a big eye opener of how bad things really were. So I would say, I've learned over time, but that trip was a big understanding of how he manipulated and controlled, and, his pride would get the best of him. So narcissism as well.
Yeah, narcissism is it's a big thing. She was so nonchalant. She didn't speak poorly
she
about
didn't.
that.
Yeah.
And how she just said it as point blank, though. So that was an interesting experience, too. I thought she'd be like how he was about her, and she wasn't about him. But that's the deeper issue when it comes to that. The question was, when did I notice I never thought he was a victim, because I was team mom in my younger years. So but I knew I had to just get with the program, because there was no other program. Like I was stuck in the program, or there had no other options. Then I felt like a lot of sympathy for him, because that was the narrative. And so he preached a narrative, and it's so important as a child to, you look at the two trustworthy people in your life, and psychologically you base all your things off them regardless, because you don't have that logic or understanding that there's an outside force, or outside world to tell you differently. So he did eventually basically paint that picture that he was the problem. She left us, and I agreed with him then on that. And then full circle, I got to go round 2 of the experience when my stepmom lived with us, and she's an incredible person, incredible woman. And if she ever hears this, she was truly a light in darkness for that house. And it made me realize, seeing it as a full adult, I was 17. Full adult in the sense of I could remember it, could understand it. I knew immediately that he was not at all the victim, and not that she didn't have play a part, but it was very clear once I saw it how he worked. And I had a very close relationship with my stepmom, and she was still kept a brave face in a lot of things. He never from what she never told me if he physically hurt her, but he did all the other narcissistic things where you trap charm a person into like marriage, and then mask comes off. And she said it. She felt like he tricked her into this being a person that he wasn't. And then once they got married, it was like back to this different person. And she was, independent years prior enough to get out. So they were only married, 2 years? Yeah. And it was a year married in the house, and then she was separated for a year, and they got divorced. That was all I needed to know. That's witnessing, experiencing it, seeing him try to break her down. And I already have been broken down most of my life that way by him. I knew that's when I gave so much grace to my mom. I forgave her immediately then. I literally was like, he has done things to her. But then I also still had that she's a little dove. So like she still played her part, me and her, but it was, no one deserves the treatment that he did to her in any lifetime kind of thing. So I'm glad for that experience, because that was when I forgave her, was when I was 17. And I immediately, it was almost like God opened my eyes to realize like, you're almost out, you're almost safe. He's distracted by this situation. So he didn't see me for the last 2 years of high school. And I really felt like grateful for that to get out, because Brittany just graduated and left the house. So I was alone, and I was like really like scared of what that meant. And then he was distracted by the situation. And then I just got to witness it again. I'm like, fun. Glad that, you know, the Lord got to show me that so that I wasn't blinded moving along in my 20s by it. And then marriage just brings out a lot of the lies that, you know, you saw as a young person.
For me, I think I always knew it deep down because I saw all the things and I try to hide it so that you guys didn't have to. That's what you were insinuating or talking about earlier, was that there were so many stories that I just never shared. I witnessed, I saw everything. I was very curious as a kid. I investigated absolutely everything.
I believe people call it nosy.
Yeah.
No, he will say Melissa is the nosiest person I've ever met. And I said,
just wanted
yes,
to
she is,
know.
but she will find out everything I need to know. So I appreciate that.
It's like
That
once
we
I
are
have
too.
this curious thought, I need to know an answer, and I
Same.
need truth in that answer. So I will dig out until I witness it, till I see it, till I spot it, till whatever. And I just did also, on top of being curious, nosy, I also really needed to be bold, and I was bold. And I did not, there still to this day, I don't care. I will go after it if I want truth in it. So some things just rile me up enough to be like, we're going, you know? And there were a lot of things that I witnessed with my mom in the house that were not okay on my dad's end. And he brought in a lot of like terrible decisions, you know, whether it was things that I don't want to mention, but I mean, just like some really poor decisions. He opened doors. He had friendships that were not okay. He did things that were not okay. Business-wise, he was not okay with, like just unwise choices, very little discernment. And it was all backed into pride. And so I know that. Like I knew that as a kid, I could sense it. But out of the two that were safe, he was safer in my eyes because I saw her fear. I saw her decision-making. Hers was so blatant, where his was all hidden. And it was like, well, I don't trust either, but if I'm going to be protected, he's the one I'm going to hide under. And so I think that's where my decision to like, okay, I got you, fine, let's do this. But really, ultimately, it was for you guys. And I just always felt like I needed to protect you guys. That just was in me from the beginning, but it was totally how I felt, where we had to survive this and be good, play the game, shut your mouth, and like, you know, like just be quiet, you know. But yeah, she was the same way. She was like being bold and being truthful. And so in it, I think we both knew. And yeah, we had to put on this face of like, just shut up and stay focused. Word focus. Stay focused and get out alive. Yeah. And if we could get out alive and get married, it was until marriage. Like that's when I was like, okay, we did it. We did it. Okay, good. And then after, there was this set period of time where then he was going through things that I was like, oh gosh. And so,
but you're still team for him. You're like, we're on the same team. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
that faithful
obligation of like
honor.
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then when he did pass and that freedom was there, it was like, oh, here's all the truth. And like that dug into the estate and that dug into
it got dumped on you.
Books and yeah. And so, but I thought even then, like we were together and we did it together and we figured it out together and there was no issues. I mean, I've had so many people like, you don't understand how lucky that is. Like, no, again, protection. So I just felt like we were all on the same page. We all just were for each other. And I couldn't trust those two, but I wasn't about to tell him I was not going to trust him. I'll just shut up and just keep it going so we'd not have to deal with our mom. So, and when I say that, like our moms like took us and as kids and basically didn't tell our dad and we had to be kidnapped and I yelled at her for that. And we had to deal with an uncle we were not sure about who was very unsafe to me, who I could remember feeling like evil there. And there were so many things that if we just were together, no one would be at harm. If there was if there was any of, I don't know, it just felt like they would just, the world outside of them was a little bit more safe than them. But if there were two to choose, Dad was the safer, more logical one.
I think
You
you
knew
would.
what to expect.
Yeah, I feel like what Dad offered was a roof over our heads,
Yeah.
which we didn't know if we were going to get with Mom.
Yeah.
I
She
think
said we wouldn't have.
I think there's some level
No,
of
she
like
couldn't take care of us.
he did provide for our basic needs.
Yeah.
And I think she couldn't have.
And grandma and his whole side of the family, there was safety there in a lot of ways. They knew the Lord. Her family did not. So you could feel that.
Yeah.
So out of the two, I felt like that was just obvious.
Yeah.
But that would be my take on that.
I feel like the same exact way, actually. I don't know if I think I was a little bit more extreme though. Like once they kind of got to a point where they both were fighting, I was like, okay, so she's not good because this is what's going on. And he's not good because he's not doing the right thing here. And so I kind of was like, I'm not sure about either one of these two. I don't know if I can trust them. And so that's why I started putting up the wall. And I was like, all right, whatever they do, I'm good with, because I feel like they are just innocent and loving, and they're going it through with me. So I was kind of like, all right, whatever.
Sisters.
Yeah, you
Some
guys.
people listen to this. I have to.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry for
My
not that.
sisters.
When we say them, whatever. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Clarify.
But
Just
as
pointing
far
at us right now.
yeah, that's true. But as far as my parents go, I was just kind of like, okay, so if I just kind of like do my own thing, try to like be quiet, back up, and then if he comes after me, I do feel like I should be bold and I need to express my opinion, and I would express my opinion. It wasn't always the best opinion. I do believe that a lot of it really was wisdom beyond what I knew at that point. Because I was reading the Bible and I was like, well, God's word says this, then why aren't you doing that? And it came across probably to him as, what? I'm
No, he
not
didn't like
perfect. Why are you calling me out?
Children should be seen, not heard.
And that's why there was so much animosity towards me, because of the fact that like I have a son who's very much like that now. If there's anything that goes beyond what I've said, or Mom, remember you said this and you shouldn't be lying, or you shouldn't. And I'm like, but I'm not lying. And I have to explain to him what's going on. Dad wouldn't do that. He would be like, it's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
And
You're always wrong.
Right. And you're wrong.
Even if you're right. You're
Right.
wrong.
Because
you
he was a
can't-
lawyer. And
he's
that was
prideful.
who
No,
he
he's
was.
prideful. He's like, you couldn't be
And that
show
too.
It's
Right.
a strength thing. It's like, if you're right and he's wrong, that's not okay for his,
Yeah, it
Right.
doesn't
his
make him
mental
look good.
being.
Exactly.
But as a narcissist, that would not be okay.
Right.
Because then you're breaking down the most important person to him is he's the most knowing knowledge.
Right.
He's so smart. And so you saying, I see this, like I obviously had a moment like that with our stepmom before they were married. And it was a calling out of a action. And I literally, I knew immediately he wasn't going to listen to it or receive it.
Right.
But it's like, you're going to tell me that's hypocritical. And I said that.
Right.
So that was like the one lesson.
And that's
I've
what I
learned.
would
If you
do.
don't do anything,
Yeah.
it was a threat to your life almost. The aggression that would come to just shut you down.
Right.
It's gaslighting you to be like, you're wrong. And I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. And you're like, this is the Bible.
Right.
It's not even me being right. This is literally what the Bible says. You
Exactly.
can't, there's nothing you can go against it in terms of like, it's not my knowledge, it's this knowledge.
Right. Yeah. And I think if
But he didn't
I
like
would
that.
have,
So he would try to shut you down and shut
Yes.
who you were down before
Yes.
you could like really share more truth. And that's why I think with narcissism it's hard because it's like a demonic
Yeah.
force over him. So
Right.
he didn't like that. It's the same thing I was dealing with Mom, but you were dealing with Dad.
Exactly.
That way.
Yep.
But you dealt with it all the time.
Right. And so then that was kind of like the hardest thing for me. So when I saw that, I did try to like play it safe, just like we all did, and not be the next victim, although my mouth got obviously me in trouble. But I also think that I was trying to be bold and I was trying to stand up because I saw her standing up and I'm like, well, if she's standing up, I need to as well, because what he's saying is not right.
Yeah.
And I'm still developing in my mind at that point, and I wanted to speak that out. So I think that's kind of why I saw it was really quickly after they
Yeah.
split that I knew that he was not the victim either.
I think it's pretty common that basically a lot of your life's perspective is based on maybe when you experience trauma, at least to said. It's interesting how each of you, like listening to that, how you perceived your dad in particular and your mom as well was really based on like the age you were. Just like listening, where I wrote down, it's like Chelsea was so young that basically only understood the physical aspect of it, like what you saw and what was like physically happening around you, like abuse, like being dragged, screaming, this and that, like even the story of the bottles, where then Brittany was a little older. You said what, you were 5, and you were at that age where everything your parents said to you was their word. Like that, like your parents did not lie, they only spoke the truth, and that was the only thing that was like there. And then Nicole, what I wrote down was interesting, like you were old enough to understand and have opinions about it, but you weren't the oldest, so you probably weren't taken as seriously, even though you wanted to speak up, and could easily almost lead to like anger because you weren't taken seriously, even though like you literally said, I was wiser than beyond your own comprehension because of God probably. And then Melissa, you were old enough to actually make a decision and like take a side, and you thought about it logically of like, well, what's the safer option? And like you had a different relationship with your dad than everyone because you were old enough to be like, well, I know almost that he's not gonna actually ever really, really hurt us because he cares too much about himself, where mom could literally kill us.
Yeah.
Like
By neglect.
by neglect, yeah.
Right.
And like our dad cares so much about his image that we are at least going to survive. And it's just interesting how all of your guys' perspective is really based off of how old you were when that happened.
That's true.
That was amazing. You
I know.
just
I feel like we went to counseling right now.
I was gonna say, I've never.
I almost didn't graduate high school.
You can follow him on YouTube.
His name is Lost on the Sea Fishing.
Shameless plug.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
that's good.
seriously.
I felt like that was really from the Lord.
Yeah.
That was a big insight.
That
That
was
was
huge.
interesting. So they were very different experiences
true.
because there were so many times like I think I would get angry when you were like, that didn't happen. And I'm like, that's all that happened. That's all that
Yeah,
happened.
that's all you knew.
That's all I knew. But you shared some stories with us. I wasn't even born, you know, so I wouldn't even known. And it wasn't even a story you would have ever really shared with us then. That trip, the story was a dogwood house or whatever. And I wasn't even alive.
Yeah.
So like it was interesting to experience, like it is, but I do believe, and this is what I said to Lachelle at one time, like I do believe the enemy tries to shut you down at such an early age, sometimes before you were even born,
All right.
to stop you knowing. It's like he's not all knowing, so he doesn't know the trajectory, but the spiritual, like you could see that with the angels and God sensing you on this path, and he sees that path. I bet, you know, he's sitting there right in front of us, like sitting there, and he's like, how do I just like tilt them this way to go this way instead of that? It's such a little pivot, but it's enough to get him off. It's like throw every grenade, and that's why I believe God protected us so much through that, to each be very strong in our faith and belief that you can't shake me. You know, I always say, like you said, I've gone through the worst and I'm here. So like, what more can I, you know, what more suffering can you give me that I still would ever give up my faith for it?
Right.
There's nothing on this planet.
I think that's why, like what he was saying too with that was, that's the thing that God instilled in each one of us, is like this faith that kind of gets you through all the trauma and hardship in your life. And from there, then you like kind of like look back and you're like, wow, I am so much stronger now because of all that I went through. And it's kind of like what you were just saying of like, I don't know, just that faith was a thing that stuck around, and God got us through his master strategy and leading and protected us along the way.
It makes you just think, how many times do you sit there and you're like now, and you're praying for something, and God's protecting us.
Yeah.
Because again, when we had that trip with me or mom, we walked away, but all of us with like, whoa,
Yeah.
full picture. You protected us
Right.
way more than I even thought. So it's like how often in our current steps and our future steps is he really protecting us from harm or things that are outside of his will in that way? And we're sitting there like, why is this happening? Why are you giving me this? Why, why are we not seeing breakthrough? Why is this, this struggle happening? And the reality is like, he might be protecting from way harder things.
Yeah.
Or way more, you never, that's what's so interesting about, I believe, like the spiritual warfare is that there's a constant battle around us in our daily lives. And the hand of God is so powerful for his children. And he literally is a good shepherd. He's leading us by still waters. He's sitting us at a table with our enemies, though, still. Like, we're still around and still, but like to see how our life is just like, why am I this way? Because of God. How did we come out of this all four not being, addicts or being, no faith at all? Narcissists or like, just carrying like anything, like we're nothing like our parents. We have attributes like them because we're humans and that we're created through them, but we are more like our Heavenly Father. Thank to him, thank God in that way than we'll ever be than our earthly parents. And I think that is the biggest takeaway from this is really that our stories are so not done, and we have now children we are changing bloodlines for. Right. And that was a big thing. Me or mom, it was like boom. It was, as I say this, how grateful, sometimes how obvious that because of how dark it was, it's so easy to see bloodline issues that you could walk away and be like, well, jealousy and anger and that, where I obviously have friends that they don't really know because it's not as clear. Their families hide things and they don't always share everything. Everything's great. Right. And so you're not really, it takes a longer time with the Holy Spirit to like, tell me what those are. We're like, we walked out 2 days with 2 days. And day one, I was like, this, like in my journal, I'm like, I'm breaking this off. I don't want none of this.
And the cool thing is we were able to share it with our kids too. And I think that's what was really special is like, you can go through that and then try to change everything and then go through your life as an adult and then try to make this perfect world and go opposite of what your parents were like. But I feel that the best like teacher really is like to go and walk with your kids through it. And so I was explaining, what I saw. They were on FaceTime with mom and they saw her. And so it was kind of like an opportunity for us to be able to share, hey, this is what I went through. And this is what you might be going through, but this is how you can get through it. And it was a really great like response, I think, afterwards. It really taught my kids a lot. I just had a verse I wanted to share, if that's okay. It was in James chapter 1. And it was just talking about when we were talking about faith and everything that, like, I felt like I see us as like, we were all little seeds, just like probably anyone who's listening to us. They were a seed in their own little world, in their own little environment. And what really grew us, I think, was that faith that God, that protection that God had. He grew us into what we are today. But I see it says in the TPT version, my fellow believers, when it seems as though you are facing nothing but difficulties, see it as an invaluable opportunity to experience the greatest joy that you can. For you know that when your faith is tested, it stirs up in you the power of endurance. And then as your endurance grows even stronger, it will release perfection into every part of your being until there is nothing missing and nothing lacking. And I just take that as we had, like, God just put us in this world and the enemy, what he meant for evil, God turned it into good. And as we grew, we took our faith and we grew, and we weren't the statistics that everyone even spoke over our lives. And we said, that faith produced all this endurance as we were growing up because we had to go through so much. And then that endurance grows even stronger and will release perfection into every part of our being until there's nothing missing and nothing lacking. And I think that when we went there and had everything that we experienced afterwards, we could pinpoint those bloodline issues or the things that our parents had and then correct it through the repentance and submission to Christ, and then teach our kids, hey, this is kind of what we experienced. This is what we dealt with. And I can remember my son was like, how can any father do that to their kid? Like, why didn't he protect you? And like that, like broke my spirit. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, yes, true. But God was always there. And this is why we are, faithful to him, because he loves us so much that he was willing to, write our story and strategize different pathways so we can get to this place and talk to you about it. And it was just so beautiful. And that's kind of what came to my mind.
One last thing I was going to say, and kind of to both of your guys' discussion, is that in both our dad's death and our forgiveness towards our mom, we really released it. Like, we released our holds, we released our bloodline, we released unforgiveness. Like, we released it all to them, because as we learn to seek the Lord and knowing he's a good father, he also, as you said in the beginning, loved them so much.
Yeah.
And when we were able to then understand and put that perspective of how much he was after them and how much love and grace and mercy he had, even in their weaknesses, it gave me this perspective of a childlike kid who did not know, who's wandering, and God's just like, I'm here. Come find me. Come hide under my wing. Come hide under my wing. And he just wanted to go. And she just wanted to go. And when I realized that perspective they weren't my parents, but now I see them as these children that he was still after, it released all the hardened hearts, the bitterness, the how could you, what if this, it just released it all. And truly, I think that's why we're here, because it was forgiven. And we know who our Father is because of the love he already gave, and he gave to them, and he released it to all of them. So I think that piece of it is important, because like we talked about forgiveness last week, but I think that was so heavy. We had to have that in order to move forward.
And it's so funny because I know that the Lord it's so funny that you say you're the black sheep, because I always felt I was the black sheep. Maybe we all felt that way in our own ways. But, I definitely did do black sheep things, like go off to college. Like, I did do a different path than you guys, like worldly wise. I let, like, you guys all got married and I went to away for college, and I did that. So I think he always kind of treated me in that way. But once, we had this one discussion, and after that, I knew I needed to just like forgive him, I never could forgive him to his face, because he wouldn't receive it. I knew that he would never receive it because he didn't think he did anything. He didn't need my forgiveness. Like, why would whatever. And so I remember I gave him forgiveness. I knew in my heart, like, Lord, you just love him. I see him, whatever, years before he died. And you used to always say, like, why are you so angry about that? I'm like, no, I'm released. I'm free. I remember we were at Very Fresh. I'm not gonna say the word that Lawson calls it. We were at Very Fresh, a restaurant in the area, and you were like, trauma this. I'm like, I'm free, Melissa. Like, you don't understand. I'm not angry at all about Dad. Like, he was still alive, and I'm like, I'm not angry at all. Or you were there too. I think you were in North Carolina. Sorry. But like, I was like, I feel so free. And even because I'm saying out loud, I'm not speaking in anger. I'm speaking like truth. Like, this is what happened, and I'm free from him in that way. And that's why I was so happy that, like, through this whole process, obviously through tragedy, like, I hope he made his heart right with the Lord. I know the Lord only knows that. Like, I won't ever guess it, because it's not right for me to guess that.
We want to
in that way. But I knew that I was the one who received the call for a reason, that I was already in a place of being able to walk in that and come to you guys and share it with you guys, because you were the last person, but you were the most important for the Lord to walk through. I think you were the last person to walk through it.
Yeah.
But you needed that in order to walk through it. And that broke for all of us another thing, a connection piece of not being islands anymore. And that's what the Lord, like, what the enemy tried to diminish and tried to, our whole lives push us in opposite directions. He's like, come together. Like, then the Lord's like, I have a plan for you guys in that. And I think that was like the coolest thing walking out of even going to Mom's, was kind of this reality of, oh, Lord, you have such big things for us. And this is why we're on this earth, is to release it. So that's your sheep. You sent your 99 to go bring forgiveness to that one sheep. And so we were used because of everything we walked through with dad and prepping for that, the Lord knew he was saying, go find my daughter,
Right.
go show forgiveness, show me and my love. And if she receives it, it's her choice.
Right.
But I need you guys to be my hands and my feet and literally get your butts up to the coldest place on the coldest day on the whole year.
I think it
They
was
all
like
told me-
negative 11 or
Yes.
something like that.
Literally, Florida girls, Michigan. Everyone kept saying how crazy it was when we were coming there, and I'm like, it is crazy. This is
For so
beyond.
many reasons.
But everything tried to stop us, and I knew was that the God just wanted us to bring forgiveness from as his vessel, his
but
voice box
for his glory.
for his glory, for him.
It's all for, I mean, there's nothing that any of us can sit here and say, oh, well, we did that. No, he did it all.
It's all for him.
It's all for his glory. All of it.
Yeah, I love it. What do you want?
Closing question. We started unless you guys have a lot more to say.
I think it's good.
Closing question. At the beginning, I said, what were 2 words you'd use to describe your childhood? Go around, 2 words, describe your life now.
I'm going last.
Oh no, I can give you mine. Freedom and love.
Go somebody else.
I know for sure. I feel peace and fullness.
I was going to say, actually, I've thought of something. Favor, undeserved grace, favor, and love.
Yeah. I'm going to say 3 words just to be different. That's all right. I'm going to say restful. That's something that I've definitely restful. I was also going to say abundance, and I was going to say
Worthy.
just left my mind.
Boom.
Worthy.
That's it.
Oh, yeah,
That's what it was.
Be worthy.
Chosen. I was like, you're making it too.
It was going. It was there, but it
Good.
went away.
That's good.
Should I do that again?
We are not editing that out, Nicole.
Please edit it.
Do you guys have anything else you want to share?
Well, I will say thank you for coming on here. You know, it's not everyone's cup of tea to be vulnerable and share. And I would say this to all 4 of us, even myself, that, you know, sharing it is more, it's not a light to it's not giving anything and power to the enemy. It's only showing how good our God is and how glorified he is in our lives. And I just appreciate each of you coming on a day where you have family and all that stuff to spend hours here sharing it, because I do believe that there are people will be impacted and might feel unworthy, and your story shares their worthiness and shows that God loves them.
Mm-hmm.
So just showing up and sharing about your hearts and all those things, it's bigger than us, and that's the point. It only brings glory to them. It's not about us here. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, I would say no matter what you've gone through, even if it looks out of the norm, even if it is norm, it doesn't matter. You have God has a plan for your life, and like that's what's so beautiful about it, is that you can take what is looks like dead bones and turn it into a life. Like it's something that's super special, and God can use you to speak out to people. I have to say this. There's no test without testimony. Oh wait, did I say that wrong? There's no testimony without test.
Do not edit that
wrong. Please edit that too. Yeah.
No, that's Thank you, Nicole. No, it's perfect.
Yeah,
It's who you are. I love that.
I love that. I love it. I think my takeaway is, again, it's the redemption. It's in the story, yes, in the kids when I see them all around. There's joy in it. Like, I don't know. It just is, it's a treasure and it's a blessing. And so I think that we are set apart, and we've always felt set apart, each of us in our own way. And now these kids are living abundantly because of the chains we had to break. And we've done a lot of hard work. We have a lot more. I'm sure, God's always going to be capturing our hearts in that way. But I think that in our surrender, that he is alive and well in us and in our kids. And I'm seeing that in our kids.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Is it like
So
fruit of the,
sweet.
like that's the fruit. That's the blessing.
That's the fruit.
That's the release, is like just their pure joy, and they love each other. And you know that's the blessing.
Yeah.
Knowing that they don't hold any of the same things we hold. And it's not because we're going to do it different. Like you said, it's we're walking alongside them, showing that God is so good.
Yeah.
And that they're still going to go through things, but
Yeah.
they know the God that they can
Right.
turn to. And I think that's really cool. Yeah. But it was so sweet to see all of them cannonballing and just being joyful and being kids, getting to be kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really sweet. I piggyback off of what you said. I feel like, you might not see the big picture of what the Lord's doing. I definitely didn't when I was growing up. I thought, my mom's gone, whatever. But I think looking back now, like big picture, the Lord knew. Like he always had us. Like it was never a question to him about what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. So just like you were saying, like we can trust him in those things, and like all for his glory. That's what it's all about.
Cool. Well, that's everything. Thank you for listening and joining us here, and we'll see you next time.
See you on Esther's table.